Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome all to the Bullet Championship qualifiers. First things first, we are about 3 minutes away from the start of the games. I will explain the format, but more importantly, if you guys could let me know if the audio is too loud, if you can hear me well, if you can see the board well, and if there's anything I can do to improve your early viewing experience. I'm Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky covering the first of the Bullet Chess Championship qualifiers today. Okay, a little bit loud. I can most certainly make it a smidge quieter, but I think everything seems to be working. We are 2.5 minutes away from the start of the first BCC arena. Now, a couple of housekeeping comments. First of all, there are players who are already qualified into the Bullet Championship, which will be taking place in about 2 weeks. I am already seeded into that championship together with Firouzja, Hikaru, some guy named Magnus, as well as others. Now, you might see that Hikaru is participating in this qualifier, this title player qualifier, but he is not playing in order to qualify. He is just playing for content, and if he wins this arena, if he finishes among the top 8 players, and the top 8 players in this arena move on to play a double elimination knockout, where the winner of the winner's bracket and the winner of the loser's bracket, 2 places, qualify into the Bullet Championship. And the same happen for the subsequent qualifiers that Benjamin Bach will be covering tomorrow. So if Hikaru finishes among the top 8, then he yields his spot to the 9th finisher correspondingly. So we will be watching Hikaru. We will be watching him taking on all of the other players, but with the understanding that even if he qualifies, he has to yield his spot to the 9th finisher. Once again, if there are any audio issues or any issues of any sort throughout the show, please let me know in the chat. I have chat open. This will be an interactive experience. I'm all alone today, so we're going to have a good, fun time watching some Bullet and highlighting some of my potential threats, obviously, in this tournament. We've got some incredibly strong players who still haven't qualified to the BCC, but who can most certainly give the top players a run for their money. Bullet is very unpredictable. It's very dependent on form. And people like Sergei Zhigalko. We have Rauf Mamedov, who's the 2nd seed right now. Genghis K, that is Federico Perez Ponce from Argentina, another Bullet powerhouse who has the capacity to score an upset against anybody. So we're 15 seconds away. This qualifier starts with a 1-hour arena. The top 8 finishers in that arena will move on to play a double elimination knockout. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The arena has started. I might need to reshuffle the games a little bit once the game is up. I will be projecting the standings, and I will be expanding this just a smidge so that you guys can see, what the point totals are. Just a moment here. All right. So I want to make sure that you see what the point totals are, and then we'll proceed to watch the games. And there we go. All right, looks like we're good. All right, now we can proceed to watching the games. I can turn the sounds on, I can turn the sounds off based on what people in the chat say. We've got the top 2 seats facing each other here. Hikaru has black against Rauf Mamedov. And it looks like Hikaru has a pretty good position so far. He's up a pawn, but Mamedov is one of those guys who is a lot faster than people realize. Maybe not in like raw pre-moving, but he is very fast. He's a very good Bullet player. And this is one of the things that I like about, the chess.com events is that they, the chess.com arenas basically pair the top 2 seeds in the first round. So they don't give you that easy warm-up game. Hikaru, though, not wasting any time. He defeats Mamedov there very smoothly, winning several pawns in the endgame. Sounds on, please. Okay, I'll put the sounds on. And you guys should be able to hear the sounds now. We've got Hikaru playing a King's Gambit against I Am Javi, who's a pretty good player. He's a Spanish international master trying to get his bishop out to a6 and checkmate Hikaru in the early going, but that's not easy to do. Queen d2 is a nice move to create a little Luft square for the king on d1. This pawn is safe to take, and Hikaru is going to win this endgame. This is basically unplayable in the context of bullet. White's got the center, White's got the threats, and Black will have to tread very, very, very carefully, which he is so far. Actually, knight takes e4 is a tempting tactic. He goes h6 to stop knight to g5. Hikaru defending the e4 pawn. He's probably going to move his king away to safety, and knight h5 is an excellent move by Black, attacking d4. Hikaru gives up the g3 pawn, but Black's minor pieces are now in a lot of danger. The knight has to drop back to h5, and he blunders a piece, and that will end the second game. Hikaru going to win this one as well, and we know that he can rack up points like absolutely no other. Wow, rook d7 check. If the king goes to e8, then the rook captures the rook with check. If the king goes to c8, the rook intercepts the h-file from h7. Black, nothing left to play for. He resigns. But let's spotlight some of the other top players that we have trying to vie for a spot here at the Bullet Chess Championship. One of those players, of course, is Nico Theodoru, who is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong bullet player. And he is struggling a little bit here against Women's International Master Indian Star. Just sacrificed a piece. More like blundered it, but we can pretend that he sacrificed it, trying to go after checkmate here. Now, obviously, in bullet, the rules are completely different. The most important thing by far in any position is king safety. And king safety is worth a lot more than it is in even a blitz game. Here, though, White doing an excellent job of pushing Nico's pieces back, but g3 is a huge threat, and that is a very hard threat to stop. g3 threatens queen h2 mate, the bishop cannot be dislodged, and White just doesn't have enough time to figure out the ensuing complications. The king boldly steps over to f7. Now you can chop this knight off the board, play g3, and checkmate is essentially unstoppable. You can give a check, the king is going to tuck itself in on g7, and a great win here in the early going for Nico Theodoru. All right, queen takes h4, and Nico wins. Let's stay here for one more game. He's got a stronger opponent from Moldova. d4, b6, and he seems to be playing the hippo. Wow, g5, g4. Nico preparing an opening specifically for the Bullet Championship, and it succeeds in throwing White off. Just giving away a pawn is the FIDE master from Mongolia. Maybe you could have pushed d5 there to open up the bishop. Look at Nico and how aggressively he's playing. Just trying to win games fast. This is an arena format, which means it's not only about which games you win, it's about how fast you're able to win them and how consistently you're able to win them. Once you win 2 or more games in a row, you get on what's called a streak. And as a result of a streak, you gain more points for every subsequent victory. So streaks are very valuable. And when you're on one, you want to make sure that you prolong it as long as possible, at least until you get paired against Hikaru. I am already qualified for the Bullet Championship, so I'm in the commentator seat for today. Looks like a nice position here for Theodoru. Again, the long-term king safety is the biggest determining factor of most bullet evaluations. I see this pawn on h3. That's a ton of mating threats for the rest of the game. This pawn is very, very hard to eliminate. Rook f1 would trade the rooks, but would give up the d4 pawn. Here comes Nico. Into f3 he goes, keeping the queens on the board. c4, I would just take that pawn. Oh, and would a mate, rook f1 and queen g2. And that pawn on h3 is goated at the end of the day. Who had any doubt that this is how the game was going to end? Hikaru against Nico. I'm glad that we stayed where we were. Hikaru playing the Gleck system. He likes the system in Bullet. You can make a lot of moves fast. He's going to prepare f4, and he plays it already. And Nico counter-striking quickly on the queen side. Hikaru locking up the king side. Now he's going to attack King's Indian style with an eventual g4. We didn't have to wait long. The center opens up, and Nico trying to get his bishop to a6, but Hikaru opening up the g-file and driving his knight to g3, chiseling his way up Black's king side, and Nico drops his knight back. A dark squared bishop trade. It looks like a positionally good position for Black, strategically speaking, but tactically speaking, it's still very dangerous, and Hikaru accumulating the pressure on the king side. And he brings his queen up to g3, and he attacks g6, and he attacks e5, and Nico is taking a pretty long think. Now Hikaru's turn to calculate. Queen takes e5. There was the move f6, and the knight would have been hanging, so he takes the pawn first, but Nico pulls out a brilliant trap. Knight to f6. And Hikaru keeps the tension with rook g5 on a counter-strike. And if Nico takes the knight, Hikaru recaptures it with the rook. And the knight is pinned. Black would lose his queen. And now the knight is safe for capture. Hikaru in fantastic form in the early going of this tournament. This game is over. He can just take on d7. And now Nico should resign. Oh, and another tactic, the cherry on top, as the knight drops back and brings back the rook. He's up a full knight. Nico should resign this. It's an hour-long arena, which means you want every second that you can get. Hikaru is not going to bungle this particular game. We can be sure of that. But what's crazy is that he isn't leading. The current leader of the tournament, as you can see, is Devik Bronstein, who is an Indian grandmaster. Don't remember his name off the top of my head. But he's got 17 points and a 5-game winning streak. And so does Renato Terry, who just won his 5th game. Hikaru's playing Terry, so let's stick here for one more game. And and then we can move on and watch some of Devik Bronstein's games. Terry is a very difficult opponent for Hikaru, historically speaking. He's scored a lot of upset victories over him across the various arenas. But looks like Hikaru is very, very confident in the early going. You're just getting that sense that he is in winning mode. And a nice little tactic here, knight c5. The back rank was weak, so Terry had to bring his bishop out. This looks like it might be heading for a pretty quick draw, which would ruin the streak. But g5, I have no idea why Terry allowed that. I would try to go f4, carve the diagonal, back out for the bishop. Hikaru brings his king up, and Terry has caused himself some problems here as the f5 pawn is weak, but he defends it, and now Hikaru gets his rooks to the d file. And rook on e5, pinning the bishop on e3. And rook takes f5. Hikaru now up a pawn. He's going to win this game. This is not even a question in my mind. Terry should not have brought his bishop over to h6. This is easy clap here. b5, b4. He's going to chisel away at the queen side, stick a rook on b3, and you can stick a fork in this game. And Terry just did, because the b2 pawn is forked, and it's going to be lost. And Jeffrey Zhang has now jumped out on top. He's got 17 points. He's currently in 2nd place. He has the white pieces here against Shield 12. I think that is Noturbek or Shamsuddin Vokidov from Uzbekistan. And let's see how Jeffrey fares in the early going of this 1-hour arena, with 10 minutes having gone by already. And it looks like a shoddy position here for Jeffrey, who is currently down a pawn. And Vokidov brought his bishop back to g6. It was important to put a queen on d6 there. Otherwise, the bishop could have been captured, because the b3 bishop pins the f7 pawn. And bishop takes d4. Another pawn disappears off the board. Vokidov saying, why not? I've got plenty of pieces to keep my king safe. And it looks like Jeffrey is going down in this game. He's 10 seconds down. The queens are off the board, which means white is out of counterplay. And black just has a very, very solid position here. But can Jeffrey make up some time here? Can he scramble Vokidov out of this time scramble? He's 6 seconds down still. And he's trying to generate some last-second counterplay, but he has no threats to create. And he stops the a-pawn for now, and the knight might jump into d7 and hit the rook, and back to f6 it goes, but it's got nowhere to go from there. It goes all the way back to d7, but Vokidov smartly dislodges the rook off the f-file. But the knight keeps jumping around, and as long as there is a knight, there is hope. And Jeffrey has to go faster. He's still 6 seconds down on the clock. And Vokidov lagging a little bit here. He's got 3 bars of connection. Can Jeffrey make up another 3 seconds? It's going to be a little closer than I expected. 7 seconds for Vokidov, and Jeffrey continues to pre-move. And Jeffrey resigned. Why did he resign? Just when he was making up all the time, Vokidov was lagging. He had a chance there. I do not know what happened there, but Jeffrey maybe felt bad that he was winning on the clock. Man, oh man, that was a great, great, great performance in the time scramble. He had a shot there. Back we go to Hikaru, who has the white pieces against Genghis. That's Federico Perez Ponza. Okay. What do we have here? We have another good position for Nakamura. This isn't even close. He had a winning tactic there with knight to d6 check, but his position still remains very, very pleasant. Can anybody stop Hikaru, who's won all of his games thus far? Well, doesn't look like it. He's coasting here. Down on time, though. 6 seconds down. And Federico could have taken that pawn. He could have taken it again. The pawn on c4 was just hanging there, but you don't trust yourself when you're playing Nakamura. Trust me, I know. Okay. Now Federico has to drop his bishop back, and Hikaru keeps the rooks on the board. And he had a tactic there with bishop takes g3. That would create problems for Hikaru. This one's going to be close, and Federico preparing bishop takes g3, but he's not going to make it happen as he drops his knight back to h6. And Hikaru beating back the attack, but giving up. Nope, f5 was hanging there. He could have captured it. Federico is way too slow here, way too slow. He's got to go a lot faster than this. He's got to start pre-moving everything. And instead, he has dropped a minor piece, but still not giving up as he gets his rook over to d1 and promoting to the queen. But he's 5 seconds down. And this is what Hikaru does. Even when you get a good position against him, you're down on the clock. And he is going to win another game. Is Hikaru Nakamura making it more difficult for the others to qualify? This one's pretty easy. It's in the bag. And he's a bunch of pawns up and a knight up and now a rook up. And he wins the game. But Devik Bronstein still going pretty strong. Shant Sargsyan playing Genghis right now. Let's watch this game. Shant Sargsyan, very strong Armenian grandmaster. Bullet rating over 3,000. Good player. Could definitely be an unpleasant opponent in the main field. C4, though. And Genghis is on a little bit of tilt after losing to Nakamura. He's lost a minor piece here. Once the knight drops back, I think white plays d5. Maybe he can castle long. Now bishop a4. Maybe he wants b5. For some reason, white took on c6. I didn't think that was necessary. Bishop could have dropped back to a4. Now black is going to recapture the bishop. And Shant is banking on his pawn on b7. And now he chases the knight away from b4. He's still much, much better. White should win this game, especially because black cannot develop any of his kingside pieces with that pawn on h6, nailing black's coffin. And Genghis trying desperately to generate some counterplay, but this is all going to be in vain. Queen c6 check, clinical move, forcing the queens off the board. a7, rook b1, and rook b8 is going to be an easy, decisive idea. Rook b1 could have been played straight away. He goes knight b1. And that was a mouse slip. What was knight b1? And suddenly Genghis has brought his bishop out. Rook a5. Devastating move, though. Still white should win this game because the other rook is coming to a1. And the bishop is going to be lost. And bishop to d4 by Genghis. He's still kicking. He's still fighting. But not for long. Rook takes a8. And it's over because rook takes h8 is going to be accompanied by rook takes h7. And the h6 pawn, believe it or not, that's going to decide the game. And rook h8, this one's over. Genghis, he should resign. He should resign, move on, get the next game going. He's lost 2 in a row now. Shant was a tough pairing after losing to Hikaru. Matthias Bluebaum, another player that we should keep an eye on. He has gotten progressively better at bullet over the course of the last year, year and a half. He's played a lot more 30-second chess on chess.com. He's gotten much faster. He's incredibly fast now. He's got 44 seconds on his clock in this endgame against the Polish international master Damian Olewczak, who is trying to generate some queenside counterplay and attacking the pawn on b3. He's 2 pawns down, though. And look at how Bluebaum's knights are connected to each other, and the knight on d2 connected to the pawn on b3, and the king connected to the pawn on e4. And Olewczak trying his best to circle around all of Bluebaum's defensive forces, and he's recovered one of white's extra pawns. But white still has another one, and now white's bishop is incredibly strong. The pawns are moving. The c5 pawn can be targeted, and it is targeted, and the knight is dominated and paralyzed, and here comes the king, and here comes the other pawn, and here comes black's knight. Down it goes, attacking the bishop. Bishop will move back. The other knight can come in. No, it can't. Not anymore. The king up to d4. Olewczak trying to trade off as many pawns as he can, but this is dead lost. Black's knights have no purchase on any side of the board, but he's still trying. Knight e3, and he takes f5, but here comes another pass pawn. It seems like every time black was able to capture one of white's pass pawns, another one appeared to take its place. And the final hurdle that has to be crossed and is crossed by Bluebaum as he promotes to a queen. And all he has to do now is not miss a fork against the queen and the king. He will do no such thing. He is experienced. Queen e5 will pick up the knight. Oh, and he blundered his queen! But he still's gonna win! He's gonna win! He's gonna win. He's gonna win. He's going to keep his bishop and his knight, and that is sufficient mating material. He actually did it. He blundered his queen, but Olewczak was not able to capture one of white's minor pieces in time to secure the draw. Bishop and knight is obviously sufficient mating material, which means that is a loss, not a draw. E4, What is Matias? What is happening here? E4 was a fork. E4 was a free piece. And Matias is going to have to step up his game if he wants to ensure qualification. He is going to win this game, though, I think. He's captured A2, and he's captured E4. And White's rook, hither and thither it goes, but it's not really doing much on E4. White trying to generate some counterplay here. The bishop on G2 is strong, but so is Matias's knight. What bishop on G2, says Bluebaum, and White trying to stir things up on the queen side, but bishop E7 is a great move. Preparing to castle. I would simply castle here. I wouldn't even bother to take the rook, and Bluebaum thinks exactly in that way, pinning all of his hopes on the A2 pawn. And speaking of the A2 pawn, he's trying to dislodge the bishop from A1, and he's going to bring his queen up to D5. And that queen can sneak into B3, and it does. And White's position is, practically speaking, indefensible. There's too much going on. There's too much hanging. White's rook is coming to B3, and Hikaru did finally lose a game. He lost the game to... No, he didn't lose a game yet. We'll check into his games in just a second. Let's watch Bluebaum take this position apart. The queen on B1 is obviously untouchable because if you capture it, the pawn takes the queen's place, promoting to a new queen. And Bluebaum's technique here is really good. He's trading rooks, bringing his queen back to B1, and now he's going to try to cycle his bishop around. I thought he was going to go to A3 and B2, but this is also sufficient. White's got 5 seconds. You don't really have to do anything at all here other than deliver a few well-timed checks, such as this one. Well, that wasn't even necessary, but it's going to win the game anyway. And Hikaru with 31 points. His streak is, in fact, over. Let's see Hikaru taking on Terry for the second time this tournament. And Hikaru has just dropped a pawn. He is at risk of losing this game? No, he's not. The material is still equal, and Hikaru is going to force a draw. Okay, Terry doing pretty well, losing the first game to Hikaru, but drawing the second. And let's watch Last Gladiator 1, who is the Azerbaijani Grandmaster Aydin Suleymanli, who is currently in second place with 30 points and a 6-game winning streak to boot, but a very dangerous position here against the above-mentioned Matthias Bluebaum, who is going to checkmate Black on the G-file, I think. Or is he? I wouldn't have grabbed that exchange on E5. That gave Black a new lease on life. And the queen on H3, threatening to dive into H8. But Suleymanli doing a great job of connecting his knights. Now queen H8 would have been innocuous. The king would have escaped toward the center. The queens are off the board. And Black's got a pawn for the exchange. White's got a bad pawn structure. This is a very easy position for Black to play. Lots of easy pre-moves. You could even trade the rooks and just start pushing those queenside pawns. And that's exactly what he does. And knight D6 to C4 is a possibility here, forking the E3 and B2 pawns. Black misses it, but I would still take Black any day of the week, particularly Thursday. And there goes one pawn. And can he capture another one? No, he cannot because of rook E1. And Bluebaum trying to create some counterplay, but Black's minor pieces are just squashing White's resistance here. D4, E5 takes E5. It's over. Look at Black's pawns. And one of them is going to promote to a queen very shortly. D3, it's over. Bluebaum resigns. And a great win for Suleymanli, who is in first place right now with a 7-game winning streak. And he faces a difficult task in Jeffrey Zhang. Oh! And he pre-moved 92. He expected D4. And a mental lapse for Suleymanli, who's going to lose this game quickly and lose his 7-game winning streak, barring a miracle. This is easy, easy stuff for Jeffrey. He is more than good enough to convert a full extra piece. Suleymanli trying to generate some counterplay. This is hypothetically possible. Crazier things have happened in Bullet. And Suleymanli kind of not doing badly so far, all things considered. But Jeffrey is kind of calmly bringing all the pieces, taking them off the board. Oh, knight B7, picking up a pawn. Trying to stir things up is the young Azerbaijani prodigy. But B2 also falls, though so does C6. But rook A C8 is going to allow Black to take the C3 pawn if he wants it. And he does want it. And he can take all of the rooks off the board. Bring the queen back. Try to get the queens off the board. Suleymanli, great resistance here. But I would bring the dark squared bishop back to F8. Position it on D6. That's exactly what Jeffrey does. And attack the G3 pawn. I would even consider F5. And maybe queen F6. Oh, queen H4 is game over. Can't take the queen. It's pinned. Here we go. Okay, so you should be able to see the standings together with the current board. We've got Jeffrey facing off against Hikaru. Let's take a look at the battle of these two gladiators. We've got the last gladiator in second place right now. Jeffrey is in third. He's got a 5-game winning streak going. Hikaru with a 2-game streak. 37 minutes left in this arena. Hikaru obviously in first place. But once again, if you're just joining, just tuning in, 8 players, the 8 top finishers in this 1-hour arena, of which there are 37 minutes left, are going to advance to a double elimination knockout. And then the 2 winners of that knockout, the loser's winner and the winner's winner, will in fact qualify to the BCC, the Bullet Chess Championship, where they will be joining the likes of Firouzja, Hikaru, Andrew Tang, myself, and others. And White's King will be joining Jeffrey in the grave there. That was a crushing victory for Hikaru Nakamura. And let's switch over to Jose Martinez. Or not. He is going to flag his Finnish opponent in this game and climb up to 4th place. Hikaru will not be invited to the double elimination arena. He is just playing the arena for content. He's playing the arena for content, but even if he wins it, which he very likely will, he will not be playing the subsequent stage because he is already qualified into the event. I am playing the Bullet Championship, please rest assured. I am qualified and playing the actual championship. Therefore, I'm not playing in this qualifier, but rather commentating it. The arena is for titled players only. That is the requirement. You have to be a titled player. Hikaru is just taking these players apart. They are not... I mean, they're in a different level. With full due respect to Aiden Suleimanli, he's great. But it looks like Hikaru is just taking these games easily. Maybe a check on G3, though. Suleimanli says, what was that, sir? And now Hikaru has to decide where he moves his king. And he carefully, or not so carefully, drops his king back to D1. And there is a potential for perpetual check here, but not anymore. As Hikaru tucks his king away on C1. No more checks. And now it's Black's king in the crosshairs of White's 3 attacking pieces. Bishop takes G7, and then Queen G6, and then Rook to H8 mate is essentially unstoppable. I think Black has to simply take this bishop, force the queen to recapture, and run toward the center, but he doesn't even bother to do that, granting Hikaru another 4 points and the continuation of his streak. Who else can we spotlight? Well, we can spotlight Arjun Erigaisi, Gandhivam 2003, who's got the black pieces here against Matthias Bluebaum. Who is still doing quite well, 7th place right now. He is in the top 8 as things currently sit. And he's up a piece in this game. Erigaisi's attack has been beaten back. And Bluebaum just shuffling his pieces here, preparing to play Bishop F4, which I think he should play right now and win the game on the spot. Bishop F4 ends the game. But for some reason, he's giving Arjun unnecessary chances. Now he's going to have to beat him on the clock as well. And with 14 seconds left, this isn't guaranteed. Should be a win for Bluebaum, but he gives up E4. He's getting nervous. And now it's far from guaranteed. Now Arjun could actually win this game, and he gives up another pawn. And now it's anybody's game. I think I would still take White here, despite the time deficit. But Arjun is really, really fast. Very sloppy technique for Bluebaum, who finally starts to pre-move. But Black's got this past B pawn, and White has to pick it up. And he's trying, but he's got 3 seconds left. And now it's Black's turn to flag. And Arjun, he's obviously not going to give him a draw. Can Bluebaum mate in time? No, it's over. Bluebaum trying to pre-move as best he can, but he didn't give himself enough time. And he loses. And he has to avoid tilting. That is the hardest thing in arenas, is to avoid tilting once you lose a game like that. Very poor technique for Matthias. He's got to step it up. And let's watch Sergei Zhigalko. Speaking of stepping it up, Zhigalko has stepped it up to 5th place on the heels of an 8-game winning streak, which I think is going to turn to a 9-game streak after he converts this extra piece against the Armenian phenom, Emin Ohanyan. Very, very strong player. Obviously very good in Hyper Bullet, Ultra Bullet. He is among the fastest players on the planet. Okay. Up a piece is Sergei Zhigalko. And a matter of technique, but Ohanyan trying to make it difficult, putting on the heat and getting the knight over to b6, and Zhigalko trading off all the rooks. Queen f4 was a nice move by White, hitting d6, which you can't really capture because black will capture h4. Now he captures the b4 pawn and defends d6, and knight takes d5 is some sharp tactics for Mr. Zhigalko, who can take on c4 right now. And he missed it, but he's still completely winning. d5, great move. Just dc, totally winning, up a piece, safe king. And safe king is the most important part, and a very accurate move to finish this game. He's going to win another minor piece, and this is resignable now for Emin Ohanyan. Zhigalko is not going to let this one slip, barring, of course, a queen blunder, which is always possible, but not when we're talking about bullet veterans like Sergei Zhigalko. Okay. Well, that is not a particularly impressive attempt by Ohanyan. Zhigalko wins his game. Alexander Grishuk is another player who appeared quite randomly here. I didn't see his name at all. Now he is in 9th place, so he would technically qualify into the final 8, given that Hikaru yields his spot. Let's watch Grishuk fare in 1+0. I know that's not his favorite time control, though that is the time control he plays in most classical games after about move 5. So he should feel right at home here. In the meantime, Hikaru is running away with it. 6-game streak. And Grishuk playing very well. Denis Lazovic, his opponent. Tactics on the board. Knight takes g5. But Grishuk's big problem is going to be full-out time scrambles. Right? Without that 1-second increment, Sasha is going to struggle in the mouse wars. Although right now, I'm very impressed by his speed. He's pre-moving. He looks like a bullet veteran right now, the way he's playing. But on the board, it might still be a draw. The knight restrains the a-pawn. The king is going up to pick it up. Here comes the other pawn. Oh! And can white deflect the knight? No, Grishuk's going to have to struggle to draw this. He takes e5, though. It's a draw. Both sides are going to eliminate each other's pawn. And it's an easy draw. Okay, which means that Sasha Grishuk is currently in 10th place. He needs to go on a streak here. Let's watch one more of his games from start to finish. Let's see how fast he is, how good he is at bullet. Well, he's obviously very good, but you're up against some stiff competition here. Denis Lazovic, very good bullet player in his own right. And right now, Grishuk's opponent, Sankalp Gupta, young Indian grandmaster, about 2,500 FIDE rated. And Grishuk is walking right into a blunder. Bishop f6 is going to pick up the exchange, a cold shower. Probably what Grishuk needs is a cold shower after this game, which he's very likely to lose. Tries to set up a blockade in the center. It's not an easy blockade to break down. And I would try to lift the rook up to e3 and maybe to g3. But Grishuk adopting a more defensive posture. No, that might have been a mouse slip. He goes rook e3 now. And he defends the pawn. He's still kicking here. He's got time on his clock. Not easy for black to make progress all of a sudden. And look at Grishuk. He's playing for the win now. Advancing his pawns on the king side. And using his king. But black hitting the c3 pawn and blundering knight b5. And now the knight d6 fork is unstoppable because you can only remove one piece at a time. You can't move both the king as well as one of the rooks. And Grishuk trying to keep the tension here. Extracting the maximum out of the position. What a move rook g3 is. And is this panic? It is panic. He blunders a piece. And Grishuk's going to win. He wins down a clear exchange in the endgame. And he wins with plenty of time on his clock. The knight coming into f7 with checkmate. If Sasha plays like this, he's got every chance to qualify. But his next opponent, David Paravian. Let's watch one more Grishuk game. He's got the white pieces again. Does Sasha Grishuk, and a bishop's game transposing into an Italian. And David Paravian making some strides there on the queen side. The bishops are traded. The f-file is opened, and black castles king side. And the knight gets g3, and the pawn gets up to c3. And the queen moves into attacking position on g6. And Grishuk occupies the center with a classic d4 pawn break. And now another pawn break, shattering and chipping away and chiseling away at black's pawn structure. And the e6 pawn is now a long-term weakness. But it also supports this beautiful knight on d5. I like David's position here in the early going of this game. But that was a pawn. And Grishuk captured it, and the queens are off the board. Still anybody's game, though. Black's knights are very, very strong, particularly this one on b4. And the rook comes into d7, but Grishuk, he's definitely better now. Oh, he had knight b6. He still has knight b6. And they both missed it. Knight b6 ended the game immediately. Not a particularly conventional fork. Still should be a winning position for Sasha, but David is so slippery. Once you give him chances, he's going to exploit them. Something tells me that Sasha is going to regret not seeing that fork a couple of moves ago that would have ended the game immediately. And he still should be winning here. Up on time. Up on time. Up a pawn. But this is where that extra bullet experience comes in. 20 seconds each. Can Grishuk avoid missing a fork? Can Grishuk avoid losing in the all-out time scramble in a rook versus rook situation? And he is right now. Look at him. Look at him go. He's actually playing high-quality moves. He's not blitzing out random moves. Don't go king h4. Sasha was not born yesterday, though. Don't repeat moves if you're Grishuk. Play this for a win. He's got 5 extra seconds. Grishuk is winning this on the clock and on the board, but can he make progress here and avoid the 3-time repetition? He might be panicking a little bit here. Is Sasha Grishuk? David Paravian is faster. 8 seconds for Grishuk, and he takes h5, and he needs to start pre-moving, and he is pre-moving. Look at Grishuk go! But he's got to repeat moves here. Grishuk is playing amazing. This is incredible. I cannot believe that Alexander Grishuk is pre-moving this many moves, and he's blundered his rook, though. I jinxed him, and he's going to lose the game, I think. Oh, my God. David wins all his pawns, and Grishuk might flag here, and Grishuk's going to flag. Oh, my God. Paravian won that. No way. No frickin' way he won that game, and Sasha is not going to be happy about that. That's 1+0 for you. I jinxed him completely. On that note, let's come back to Hikaru, who's getting some easier pairings here. He has run away with this tournament completely. That was not a surprise in the least. He does not have any sort of stiff competition, to be completely frank, in this qualifier, so it's a good practice run for him. Wow, what a crazy time scramble that was. In second place right now with 26 minutes left on the arena clock is... Who is it? It's Jose Martinez. But let's come back to Sergei Zhigalko, who currently has the longest streak of anybody this arena. He's at 11 games counting. That number is about to tick upwards and become 12 because he is up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 pawns and a bishop and a bishop. And all he has to avoid is to take white's rook after h2. That is stalemate. Zhigalko was also not born yesterday, much like Sasha Grishuk. And he checkmates white in style, ladder, mate, and the streak is up to 12. And his spot is up to 3, and he faces Vasif Durar Bailey from Azerbaijan. Very strong grandmaster. Not an easy game for Sergei Zhigalko. I apologize. This is Alexander Grishuk, who faces Vasif Durar Bailey. I'll go back to Zhigalko's game as soon as he starts one. And he just did start one. Let's watch Sergei Zhigalko take apart some 2500s. Sasha, honestly, was so good in the time scramble. That bodes well for his chances. He just has to improve his reaction time a little bit. But in terms of his actual mechanics, he was great. Okay. Sergei Zhigalko has a easier pairing here against Yegor Chess, a young candidate master, and he is slicing him up there on the king side. The bishop is coming over to h6. Nope, it drops back to c1. Zhigalko playing it a little bit more conservatively here, building up that time advantage. And it's a very, very hard position for Black to play. White's got clear attacking ideas on the king side. Black has no equivalent on the other side of the board. And that is really all that matters in the context of a bullet game. It's really not about the objective evaluation at all. It's about who has the easier moves, who has the better king safety, who has the more pre-movable position. And here it's clearly Sergei who's got that pawn, an extra pawn sitting on d6 protected by the combined forces of the bishop and the queen. Black trying to work around it, but Sergei rerouting, rotating his knight over to e5. Hikaru, by the way, now on a 12-game streak, rivaling Zhigalko's. And that rook could have been captured. It doesn't matter. Everything is winning. He's 10 seconds up. He's 2 pawns up. He's about to be a king up. And he might also be a rook up. Anything wins. Rook e5 is such a clinical move. He's going to probably take the bishop and go rook g5 and knock Black's last defender off the board. And a resignation there. I want to see Zhigalko against Nakamura. 2 players with the longest streak right now in this tournament. Zhigalko's up to 13 games now, clearly solidifying third place in the arena and getting another very winnable game here against Wandering Puppet. Hikaru, in the meantime, is going to win in 20 moves. He needs to get a tough pairing because he's winning these games in the blink of an eye. That's it. Queen H. Okay, well, this is not serious. Black should resign this. Black should resign this, and he does. And Hikaru up to 81 points. Okay, this is Genghis against Phoenix King. Genghis is actually not anywhere in the top. Genghis has been tilting for a while. He only has managed 37 points, which puts him past 20th place. Grishuk, by the way, has dropped all the way to 23rd place. Grishuk has lost a couple games, but all it takes is a quick streak. 3-4 games, 3-4 wins at the right moment, and you can climb from 25th place to 2nd place. That's not an exaggeration. It can happen really, really fast, which is why the last couple minutes of the arena are so interesting, because some of the players who are not in the top 8 are trying particularly hard, playing particularly fast, trying to gain some points. Speaking of gaining points, Grishuk, Federico, that is going to gain a point in this game, and he's going to gain one quickly. A nice win against a good bullet player. And Genghis now playing Andrew Tang, who suddenly has also entered the arena and also is pre-qualified to the Bullet Chess Championship. So that seems to be in fashion now. So Andrew trying to play spoiler here a little bit against certain players. And let's see if he succeeds. Took me a second to remember that he is, in fact, in the tournament as a pre-invited player. And a good position here for Andrew Tang. And unfortunately, Federico has just been struggling in general, I think, in Bullet and Blitz lately. But here he's got... Oh, and he blunders H3. And that's just something you can't do against Andrew. One move blunders, he's going to see that a million times out of a million. And once you give up that initial pawn against Andrew, he's going to run you off the board. I mean, watch how he does it. G5, he brings the queen away from the pin. Now he's going to trade the rooks. He's got the protected passer on D4, which White is trying to chip away at with the move B4. But Andrew's got the knight, and the knight is generally a huge advantage in Bullet. And he's now got a second extra pawn, and the knight drops back and protects the queen simultaneously. And queen to E3, I think, would be an excellent move here. He plays it, and look at Andrew carving out a path for his king to G5. Don't go to E5. He would have gotten mated. The game is over. Federico cannot get on a streak. He loses with White to Andrew Tang, who does, in fact, play the role of spoiler. Back we go to Sergei Zhigalko, who's struggling against Gadir Gusenov, but he didn't take his rook. Now he can take it again. But he might deliberately be not taking his rook. He should take it now, and he does. And he can go H4. And he can take on F4. He's winning, but can he make it in time? It's a draw. He's got to take White's pawn. And now Black's winning. And now Black's winning. But it's a stalemate. Oh, and Sergei's streak comes to an end in crazy fashion. Unbelievable. Gusenov holding that position. That could have gone either way. If Black was failed to capture White's last pawn in time, then that would have been a win for Gadir Gusenov. And Sergei is probably not too unhappy about his streak coming to a close at 15 games, because he's got another relatively easier pairing, 2700, strong FIDE master. And Jose is still in second place, 64 points behind Hikaru Nakamura, who has obviously pulled away from the field. It's not even close. He's at 89 points, and he's not stopping there. He's getting very, very manageable pairings here, 2500. That is not going to be difficult for Nakamura, who is just mopping up all of the pawns here in this game. Although he did blunder his bishop, but by the time White figures this out, he's going to run out of time. And now he manages to unpin himself. But White could have traded queens first and then gotten the knight to D7. That would have not given Hikaru time to bring his king up to G7, but it doesn't matter. It's all a moot point. White has no time anyway. And Mr. Jerry77 is going to go down here. Another win for Nakamura. He will reach 100 points here with plenty of room to spare, but Oh, that is not Hikaru. That is Jeffrey Zhang with the black pieces against David Paravian. Two players who have also been struggling today. Paravian in 19th place. But what's crazy is what separates 19th place from 9th place, on which sits Parha Maksudlu, actually, who we haven't looked at yet, is only 4 points. So 5 points. 5 points is all that distinguishes 25th place from a qualifying spot. So this could change in an instant. And with 17 minutes left in the main arena, these players who are in 20th place, 25th place, they have to step it up pronto. They have to start winning. And let's see if Jeffrey can be among those players. Rook AC8, looking pretty good for black here. Okay, Paravian chasing the knight away and blundering knight c5, but seeing... Oh, he had bishop takes d3, but this is also winning. Paravian should be going down here, although he does have a strong knight on d6. And that's sometimes all that you need in a bullet game. Unfortunately for him, he's got no counterplay on the king side. He's got to try to get his queen to g6, and he does. And he does. And Jeffrey, defensive mode here, but giving back the exchange. Oh, queen g5, but queen takes e5, f4. Oh my gosh, the tables are turning here. Jeffrey has lost all of his advantage, and now he might be getting mated. Instead, Paravian decides to go into the endgame. He banks his efforts on his ability to play incredibly fast. Paravian is, in fact, a crazy fast time scrambler, and Jeffrey is just struggling here on that front. It's winning for white now on the board because of a7, and the black king will not be able to stop both pawns at once. Okay, Jeffrey, he needs to step it up now against Ohanyan, who plays an old line of the Scotch. Whoa! That is a move, actually. I'm pretty sure bishop c4 is the main move there, by the way. Just so you know, Jeffrey is still in theory, and he's going to win this game fast, I think. Rook a to d1. This is not the kind of position that you want to have in a bullet game if you're Amin Ohanyan to the king permanently stuck in the center, although he's doing a good job of sheltering his king with the material that he has available. 10 seconds up on the clock also is Amin Ohanyan. But let's go back to some of the players who are right on the cusp of those top 8 spots. One of them is Amin Ohanyan, who is currently in 10th place by tie breaks with 53 points. This is a very important game for both of these players. Jeffrey needs to get on a streak fast. Amin, he needs to get on a streak. Let's see who wins this game, who wins this opposite colored bishop position. 13 extra seconds now for Amin, and Jeffrey's initiative has gone into the toilet. And now Amin should be able to win this. Hikaru over 100 points. And now an 18 game winning streak. Zhigalko has dropped to 4th place because 2nd place has been taken over by an Indonesian international master, Yosef Taher. A very strong bullet player, by the way, not to be underestimated. Wow, king g6 there, I think, was winning for white. Jeffrey had a chance to win the game. Now it's going to be a draw. And both players are fine with it. They don't want to waste any unnecessary time with a time scramble that they know will ultimately lead to a draw. Yosef Taher came out of nowhere, and he's struggling now against Romkachas, who I've lost to in bullet brawls before. Taher is down on the board. He's down a minor piece. He's down on the clock, but he is incredibly fast, and he's getting out of it. He's won the piece back. Can he get that time back, though? With 7 seconds on his clock, he stops the c-pawn. It is a draw objectively, but black should be playing this for a win. Romkachas has to avoid giving up his rook. Taher needs to try to get the rooks off the board. Oh, what is he doing? He had 5 extra seconds there. That was eminently flaggable. But Romkachas, he's gracious. Not all of us are dirty flaggers, I suppose. And Romkachas does not figure himself among that category. Okay, let's go back to Yosef Taher. We also have Arjun Erigaisi. Arjun Erigaisi in 6th place now on a 6-game winning streak, and a big game here against who? Against Gadir Guseynov from Azerbaijan. Hikaru has finally lost a game. Not sure to who. Perhaps somebody in the chat can let me know. Maybe it was to Jaspam. And Guseynov just made a queen. Guseynov literally just made a queen, but it's still not over. White has queen and 2 rooks. Black has 2 queens and a bishop. And white actually might be better here because of this passed c-pawn, which black is just trying to stop. at all costs. And Arjun using his limited material to cause problems. No, black should be winning here now. Guseynov has to pick up the c6 pawn. That'll make his position a lot easier to play, but he's struggling to do that. Oh, and he's allowed c7. What is he doing? He's allowed c7, and he's going to have to give up his bishop. And suddenly it's Arjun, who's more or less in the driver's seat. Yeah, he is in the driver's seat. This should be a win for the side of the two rooks. This is a pretty easy win for the side with the two rooks because white has an infinite supply of checks. White has an infinite supply of pre-moves, and black is the one who constantly has to adapt to what white does. And he's actually just winning on the board. He's just won a pawn. He continues to pre-move. He's building up a big time advantage. He's attacking the queen at the right moment, and he is transitioning into a winning pawn end game. He's going to play f5 here and force one other pair of pawns off the board. This is over. Great technique by Arjun Erigaisi, who wins yet another game. That's going to propel him into a tie with Sergei Zhigalko for 4th place. Zhigalko also has to keep stepping it up because there's a converse side to what I said earlier, which is that if you don't keep up your streak, as Zhigalko faces Hikaru Nakamura, then you can very easily go from 3rd or 4th place, which seems safe, to getting surpassed and finding yourself without even qualifying. Zhigalko has lost a couple games here after that massive streak. He gets Hikaru Nakamura. He's got a nice position here, I think, does Sergei Zhigalko, but this can go either way. And he gets the knight off the board. Nope, Hikaru keeps the knight on the board and takes the pawn on d4. Zhigalko blundering everything here and losing the game. I think queen c6 or bishop to d7 here should be good enough for Hikaru. Still, wait, no, there was no tactic. This is completely winning now for Hikaru. Zhigalko might consider resigning here, but he's still fighting. I love the fighting spirit. Rook d3, trying everything at his disposal. Hikaru could even consider taking that. He's probably calculating that exact idea. Whoa! But rook takes d4, what was that? Oh my god, Hikaru with a horrible move. And now it's game on. In fact, white is probably better now. White is probably better now, but Zhigalko, I can sense him getting nervous. He's trying to generate activity. Rook to g4. There's bishop f8. He's not recapturing any of Hikaru's pawns. And now he does. Oh, and he can't take. And Hikaru is burning so much time here. He's going to lose. Zhigalko should win this easily. He's got 10 extra seconds on the clock. Hikaru's going to start pre-moving everything, but it's not going to be enough. Zhigalko has to do the same thing. And white's position is actually just winning on the board. I eat my words. Resign? What resign? Says Zhigalko. And he defeats Hikaru, who loses 2 games in a row now. Zhigalko with a huge win. And he keeps 4th place. Arjun Erigaisi right behind him. He has lost his streak as well. Now it's Benjamin Bach against Hikaru Nakamura, who suddenly has to rebuild that streak. Wow. Now, Benjamin Bach has 52 points. He is in 22nd place. He is currently out of contention for the top spots. Hikaru is on complete tilt right now. He just dropped a piece out of nowhere. Hikaru is tilted here. He needs to get it back. He's going to drop some rating. And allowing a queen trade is Hikaru Nakamura. This is an easy win for Benjamin Bach. But let's watch how he converts, whether he converts this endgame. Okay. Wait, Benjamin dropped a rook for 2 pieces. There was no need to do that. Now it's suddenly a game. And Benjamin, he's allowing a3. This is not great technique for Bach, who also is behind on the clock, but he's still trying. He takes c6 and swings his knight back to b4. And this is what Hikaru Nakamura does. And Benjamin just blundering everything here. He's going to lose this game. Hikaru with great defensive resilience, and Benjamin now starting to drop all of his pawns, as well as all of his time advantage. He has one more hope. It's that d-pawn, that passed d-pawn, trying to activate his bishop, but he's just lost his d-pawn. He's gotten his knight back in the game, though, and he swings his knight back to e4. Hikaru, very practical decision there. Bishop c5 would have won the pawn. Plenty of chances for Benjamin Bach, but it's not meant to be. Hikaru wins this game. Let's go back and see the fight for 8th place, for 9th place as it unfolds with 8.5 left in the arena. And Benjamin, oh, he gave up his rook. Wow. And Josef Taher is now in 3rd place. Sergei Zhigalko loses to Alexei Sarana, who himself has a chance to make the top 9 with a streak. Okay. We have Dmitry Andreikin, who has a good pairing here, as well as 6th place. Andreikin, if he wins a couple games here, should be able to secure qualification into the arena, into the double elimination knockout, that is. The double elimination knockout happens right after this arena concludes in 7 minutes from now. In that double elimination knockout, as rook takes c7, will knock black out of the game. The top 2 finishers advance to the Bullet Chess Championship. The winner of the winner's bracket, as well as the winner of the loser's bracket. There are mini matches, double elimination mini matches. I will be explaining that in more depth when we actually get to the knockout. Right now, we still have 7 minutes remaining to determine who makes the top 8 spots in this arena. And one of them seems to be Dmitry Andreikin, who's up to 4th place now on a 3-game winning streak. And a tough game, though, against Deniz Ozan from Turkey, strong international master. Okay. All right. Here we go. Dmitry Andreikin has black here. Deniz Ozan hitting his queen, but c5 was a bad move because now the d5 pawn is going to be targeted by both of black's knights, and it's going to be picked off, and Ozan is going after black's rook, which is sacrificed. Andreikin says, take my rook. I am banking on the activity of my minor pieces, particularly that knight on d5, just sitting on an outpost, and he is chiseling his way at white's position. There goes the d4 pawn. It does cost black his fianchettoed bishop, but the knights are still capable of carrying the load. The queens are off the board. It's a complicated endgame. I don't know who I would prefer here. Probably black. Usually in Bullet, you want the side with a more mobile pawn mass because it's easy to push pawns. Black has a very clear plan. He can go d5 and e4. Andreikin's slight inaccuracy there, allowing white to chip away at black's pawn phalanx. But it comes at the cost of the f4 square, and Andreikin meeting white at the top, driving the king away. And here come... No, I thought he was going to go pawn d5. Instead, he brings his knight back to d5. Maybe a little bit of nervousness there for Andreikin. But that was the idea. He makes way for his rook to come in. And now his knight closes the gate. Back to f4 it goes. The rooks are going to get traded. And one last trick for Ozan, but it's not going to work. Andreikin picks up the a4 pawn. His c7 pawn can be easily defended with his king. But can he make it happen on the clock? Ozan is an incredibly fast 30-second player. He needs to try to keep this game going and prevent black from promoting. But he's not doing a great job of it. Andreikin cycling his knight over to d3. It's over. This is easy. And Ozan simply resigns. Another win for Andreikin. He's up to 3rd place, and he can pass Jose with a quick victory. But Arjun Erigaisi stands in his way. This is a big, big game. Maybe even bigger for Erigaisi than it is for Andreikin. Erigaisi currently in 6th place, or 5th place, if you want to eliminate Hikaru, because Hikaru will yield his spot to the 9th place finisher. Okay, looks like a good position here for Andreikin, who's feeling very confident, and who is taking it to Arjun Erigaisi on the king side, and swinging his rook over to h3 and advancing his pawn to g4, and Arjun Erigaisi's queenside attack has come to an end before it even began. Can Andreikin unravel things on the king side? He sacrifices the e5 knight. What's going to be his follow-up? He's opening up the h-file and bringing his queen into the attack, but this doesn't feel all that convincing, and he sacrifices a second piece. And now it does feel convincing because bishop h7 is a mate threat. King f7, there's queen g6, and Arjun defends against it, but he has to give up an entire rook in the corner. Still, material is about equal. e5 could have been considered by black. I thought e5 still, and he plays it. And Andreikin just takes on e5. And that was a blunder. He's going to get mated on f1. Oh, Andreikin forgot about the mate threat on f1, and he has to waste a tempo taking the pawn on c4 and defending the square, giving Arjun a chance to evacuate his bishop. He's now up 2 pieces. It's winning for black. Andreikin's still trying to mix things up, but what a shame for Dima, who played a great attacking game there, only to lose when knocking on the door of victory. This one's over. He's down on the clock. He's down on the board. He's down 2 pieces. He's down the b2 pawn. Still trying to pre-move, but it's not going to happen. 3 minutes left now in this arena. And the battle, more intense than ever for those final couple of spots. Looks like Emino Hanyan has suddenly passed Yosef Taher to claim second place. There is a massive logjam. What separates second place from 10th place is only 8 points. That's basically 2 games. That can change in these last 2 minutes and 50 seconds as Hikaru rounding off a great run. He's got 124 points. He is obviously going to end in 1st place. Sergei Zhigalko is suddenly down to 8th place. He's got to step it up in these last minute and a half, 2.5 minutes. Sergei Zhigalko now in 8th place. Can he qualify? Can he keep these bottom 2 spots? He's playing Matthias Bluebaum, who is in 9th place. This is a massive battle. This might determine one of the qualifying spots because neither of these players are on a streak. With 2 minutes remaining in the arena, it's Sergei Zhigalko who is struggling in this game. Down on the clock. I don't see too many ideas for him. He has to equalize the time. And Bluebaum very carefully sidestepping all of the forks he could not have taken on g5. Now he can. And first, he will start with a couple of checks, and perhaps he will get his queen back to e5 and push d6, and he is going to win this game. He's got a big enough time advantage, I think, to ensure victory in this ensuing time scramble, as Sergei Zhigalko trying to make some tricky moves there, but he's actually not recapturing any of Black's pawns, and his only chance is to take on d6 at the right moment and hope for the best. Oh, maybe even go for checkmate. But it's not going to work. Bluebaum is way up on the clock here. Pretty easy here for Matthias Zhigalko with great time scrambling ability, but it's just not enough for Sergei, who loses another game. And he might not qualify. Matthias Bluebaum, huge victory. 1 minute remaining in this arena. Can these players squeeze out one last half point? Can they make a draw? You can only offer a draw after 20 moves are up. Can they score a victory? Sometimes players are gracious and they don't stall out the clock. They don't resign. They do resign, rather, and that extra point could be crucial. Matthias Bluebaum is in 8th place. Zhigalko has dropped to 10th place. Zhigalko is currently outside the qualification zone. Renato Terry rounds off the 9 qualifiers. Renato is in 9th place, which means he's in 8th place, minus Hikaru. Andraken, okay, Last Gladiator 1 is now in 2nd place. 2nd place has changed hands literally a million times, and a quick draw there for Terry trying to buttress his 9th place. Zhigalko is currently 1 point behind him. Zhigalko playing Bluebaum, and Bluebaum can just stall it out. I think Bluebaum can stall it out and keep 8th place under control, under wraps. Sergei Zhigalko is going to be heartbroken. He was doing so well. He's not going to qualify because this game is going to end before these 10 seconds are up, and that means it's not going to count for the point totals for this arena. This arena is over, and we've got our 8 qualifiers, minus Hikaru, who will not play the final portion of this tournament, this qualification. We have it, and Renato Terry edges out Sergei Zhigalko and gets that final 8th spot. Matthias Bluebaum in 7th. Denis Lazovic, who had a good, solid, stable run. Dmitry Andraken. Emino Hanyan, who was always on top. Jose was in 2nd place, then 3rd place. He finishes in 4th place. Last Gladiator 1 is Ayman Soleimanli from Azerbaijan. He was doing well from the very beginning. And Yosef Taher, the Indonesian phenom, he sneaks in and claims 2nd place in the arena or 1st place in the double elimination knockout. And of course, Hikaru Nakamura, round of applause, asserting his dominance over this field. But because he is already pre-qualified to the Bullet Chess Championship together with other top players, he will not be participating in the ensuing double elimination knockout, which will determine the 2 qualifiers into the Bullet Chess Championship. Folks, hope you enjoyed the arena portion. Big congrats to the 8 players who qualified into the double elimination knockout, which we will be covering on the other side of a short break. I'm going to replenish my coffee cup. When we come back here at the BCC qualifier number 1, we will have individual mini matches to determine the 2 qualifiers to the overall Bullet Chess Championship. I will see you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, let's come back. The arena is over. We have our top 8 finishers who are essentially on the screen in front of you, with the exception of Hikaru, who will be replaced by the 9th place finisher in the arena, Renato Terry. So what's going to happen now is that the players will be split up and they will play individual mini matches. Each mini match will be played across 15 minutes. As many games as they can play in 15 minutes. This is kind of the SCC format. And at the end of 15 minutes, the player with a higher point score wins the match. And ultimately, this is a double elimination bracket. So you have to lose 2 matches in order to get knocked out of the event. So the overall winner, the player who wins all of the matches, as well as the winner of the losers bracket, the player who only loses 1 match, those 2 spots qualify into the Bullet Chess Championship. And once the games begin, which should be going down very shortly, I'll be going around the various matches and spotlighting who's playing who. Obviously, we can't watch more than 1 game at a time, so I'll kind of focus on one particular match per 15-minute segment, but I'll do my best to capture interesting and close matches because nobody really wants to watch a blowout. It's the close matches, the ones that go down to the wire, that are the ones we want to keep an eye on. There will be more qualifiers tomorrow, so the fun continues with Benjamin Bach commentating tomorrow, but right now, push has come to shove. This is no longer an arena format. This is a format in which every game is of the utmost importance. It'll be Renato Terry against Dmitry Andreikin. I'll read out the pairings once the games begin. They should be beginning any moment now. Okay. Final setup being done with the players joining a call and getting obviously checked, fair play checked. For those joining late, to be very straightforward, some of the players, including Hikaru, are already seeded into the Bullet Chess Championship. There are pre-invited players, such as myself, Firuja, Andrew Tang, Hikaru. But Hikaru was playing in this arena purely for practice, but he is yielding his spot in this double elimination knockout to the 9th place finisher. So I am already qualified into the BCC, and therefore I'm commentating rather than playing this qualifier. But Andrew also played partially in the arena, so this is just for practice, just for fun, but they are not obviously not participating in the subsequent double elimination bracket. Okay, looks like we will be beginning any moment now. I think we've got one player who's holding up the entire group, which is kind of generally how it goes, but everybody has to be fully set up. Obviously, Magnus Carlsen is also participating in the Bullet Chess Championship, the world champion. So it'll be a very, very hotly contested tournament. It'll be a tough run for everybody. Okay, we're waiting on the games, folks. They should begin momentarily. Okay. So, yeah, we're just waiting for the games to start. They should be popping up any second now. It looks like one of the players is having a hard time getting his second camera set up. Yeah, you can share who you're cheering for. Obviously, as the commentator, I have to abstain from expressing any kind of favorites. So we will give everybody the spotlight as much as possible. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the lesser known Bullet players try to compete and get in. Obviously, the usual suspects, Dmitry Andreikin, Matthias Bluebaum. Renato Terry is maybe even more of a famous name than most grandmasters. But Aiden Suleimanli got third place in the arena. He's 3,050 bullet. And Yosef Taher, do not sleep on him. He's had a really good record in some of the bullet tournaments that were held over COVID particularly, so he is an experienced bullet player. I think he's got a great shot at making his way through this double elimination knockout. Okay. Now, once again, folks, I'm not going to keep repeating it, but if you're just joining, I am already seeded into the Bullet Chess Championship. This is a qualifier, but a lot of players have already been invited to the main event, which will be taking place in a couple of weeks, including Firouzja, Magnus, myself, etc. So, to be completely clear, I'm already in the tournament. This is a qualifier for the tournament. There will be several qualifiers held over today and tomorrow, and each qualifier will qualify an additional 2 people into the Bullet Chess Championship. Okay, looks like we're starting in less than 1 minute, which would be nice. Looking forward to watching some Bullet here. Any etc. players? No, I mean, nobody has qualified yet from the qualifiers. This is the first qualifier. So this will determine the first 2 players who make their way into the BCC through qualification. Again, this is Hikaru is already qualified. Hikaru was playing in the event purely for practice, but he is yielding his spot in the knockout section to the 9th place finisher, which was Renato Terry. All right. Yeah, apologies for the delay. I mean, we're some players just never seem to get used to, the process of joining a Zoom call. It can be a very, very difficult process. So it is for title players only. So those people watching in chat, the qualifiers, unless you're titled, if you're titled, you can join the bullet qualifiers. Otherwise, you can't. Yeah, Hikaru completely ran through the field with a 50-point advantage, which is not a big surprise, given that he's the most consistent. He went on several very long winning streaks. And speaking of streaks, let's get this show on the road. We start with Renato Terry's match against Dmitry Andreikin. Once again, there are 15 minutes on the match clock. Once these 15 minutes elapse, the player who's won more games and has the higher score wins each individual mini matchup. That's all you have to know. It's kind of SCC-like in that if you start a game and there's any amount of time left on the match clock, then that game will count. It will count for the overall score. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's watch some chess. First match that we will focus on is this one. Andreikin has the white pieces against Renato Terry, and he is chiseling his way into black's weaknesses, c4. And he wants to go d5 and just entrench this knight on that square. Great position here for Dima. Okay, let's see how he converts. Got to keep this speed up. And Renato, great idea there. Shuffling his knight over to e7, but knight a7. Oh! Knight c6 didn't work because of queen a5. There were some cool tactics there. But Dmitry doesn't need any of them. He's up on the clock. He's up on the board. He could even go rook a6 here, but he's trying to avoid unnecessary tactics. I think he's going to win this first game. But Terry still fighting, running away into the center. And if this gets down into a time scramble, Terry is incredibly fast. Dmitry has to keep his speed up here. He cannot let this get into a flat-out time scramble, and that is exactly what he's letting this get into. He is now down on the clock. Well, the clock situation now about even, and Terry starting to pre-move, and Dmitry doing the same. He cannot afford to bungle this. This was too good of a game for Dmitry to spoil the win here in the time scramble. He's got the knights. He's got an extra pawn. White is obviously winning on the board because of the extra pawn and all of Black's weaknesses, but it's all about the clock now, and it's all about who can pre-move more. And Renato Terry is doing his best and pre-moving, and so is Dimitri, and he's pushing the pawn. And this is now down to 6 seconds for each side. They're still even on the clock. And Dimitri is pulling out the Dimitri Andrakin of 5 years ago, playing so fast and so well, and picking up the knight and getting his king back. Avoid stalemate, and he's going to win. Dimitri Andrakin wins the first game. That took a lot of time off the match clock. And that is the Dimitri Andrakin that we will have to see in the Bullet Championship if he wants to score victories over the likes of Firouzja and Nakamura. We have here Yosef Taher. I've switched to another match. Taher against Emin Ohanyan. And both of these players, not grandmasters, but they are incredibly strong. And currently, they have drawn their first game. Now Taher has the black pieces in the second one, the Indonesian international master, sacrificing a pawn in the opening. Benko Gambit style in white, counter-striking in the center with e5. Looking really, really nice here for Emin Ohanyan, who's going to pick up another pawn either on f6 or on c5 and drive the king out of its shell. This is completely winning for Emin Ohanyan. Taher might just want to resign this, although he's still kicking here. And we've got a time scramble, by the way, in Jospim's game against Aiden Suleimanli, who defeated Jose in their first game. And he's about to win a second game if he can get the better of this time scramble. Can Suleimanli start off with a 2-0 victory? And he can. No, he can't. What did he do? Oh, he lost on time. I apologize. It was Jospim who was up on time. And Suleimanli was not able to eliminate White's final pawn in time. All right, I misread the clock there. Jospim equalizes the score. And Jospim with a big win. It's 1-1 in this mini match. Let's explore the other games. Any other time scrambles? We have Terry against Andrakin, which is going to be a draw in their second game. Back we go to Emin Ohanyan, who's gave away all his... Oh, he blundered his rook. Oh my gosh. He played rook a3. That could have been captured. But Emin, he pre-moved. Oh my goodness. And it's all about who can avoid blundering their rook. And then once a rook is blundered, who can capture it? Here we go. This is not a draw. In a bullet game, this might end in a draw. It might be repetition, but very likely one side is going to either hang their rook accidentally or deliberately. And I don't know what Black is doing. He's playing for a win, but is he playing for a loss instead? He's given away the F-pawn. Ohanyan didn't take it. Now he did. He's down to 8 seconds. Is Emin Ohanyan one of the fastest players on the planet? An incredible pre-mover, and I think we're going to see that in action right now. Look at the speed of his pre-moves. But, oh, never mind. What did he do? He didn't recapture the rook. He did not recapture the rook. And Emin Ohanyan actually loses that game. He was winning. It wasn't even a fight. He was killing Black. Then he let it get into a rook and 3 versus rook and 3, and he lost it. And that is what nerves do to you. That is uncharacteristic from the Armenian speed demon. And Yosef Taher jumps out to a 1-point lead. On the overall match clock, remember, there are 15 minutes in which you play as many games as you can in that amount of time. Currently, 9 minutes and 23 seconds remain on the match clock. Let's look at some of the other games as Ohanyan tries to recover after that devastating loss. You cannot afford to fall into too big of a hole, because with only 9 minutes left, you go down by 2 or 3. You might not have enough time to play enough games. And we have Andrakin and Renato Terry, who are all locked up. These players are all locked up. Jospim against Aiden Suleimanli. Let's watch this game and see if Jose can develop a lead against the young Azerbaijani Grandmaster. Okay. So, Jose massaging some of Black's weaknesses now. Down the d-file he goes. He's threatening to pin the rook and the queen, which are aligned, and these tactical observations are so important in bullet. He just blundered queen f6. He blundered queen f6, and Jose is up in exchange. He's going to win this game. You cannot make these one-move blunders against bullet veterans of Jose's caliber. He will see it each and every time. And look at the time management also by Martinez, keeping that 7-second time advantage. Black does have a knight. Black does have a little bit of counterplay that Jose has to tamp down, And tamp down is exactly what he does. Oh, 94 check. Does he tamp it down? He does not. He's going to have to win this rook endgame, but I'm afraid that Jose is going to take this game. He's got a big enough time advantage, I think, to pull this one out. Although maybe not. Look at Suleimanli go. He's won the exchange back. He's gotten this into a drawn position. I still think Jose has a slight edge here on the clock, but he's letting the king get active. Oh my gosh. King e5. He's letting the king get active instead. Suleimanli tucks his king back in. He's just trying to make a draw. Who's playing for a win? I think it's Jose. Jose is definitely playing for a win here, but he's playing with fire. I would have gone king e5. Black gives up his pawn, takes the way on f3. It'll be a flag fest now. It'll be a flag fest. Can Jose play a tricky move to force black into blundering his rook? Jose should be able to win this. He's very, very good at these types of time scrambles. Very good. He should push his pawn, but he should do it at the right moment to avoid repetition of moves. And he should push his pawn now, and he does. And that is to avoid repetition. Oh, look at Jose go. Look at Jose go. There's black has no chance here. And it doesn't matter who blunders their rook at this point. It's a moot point. Jose goes up by 1 point, and now there's 6:55 left on the match clock. That took 3 entire minutes off. And we have Renato Terry against Andreykin, and Renato is going to win and equalize the score. Renato Terry wins that game with white. We caught the tail end of the time scramble. Their match is all locked up at 2 apiece, which means this is going to come down to the last game, the last 2 games. And what are the matches that we have not looked at yet? We have not looked at Bluebaum against Lazovic, and there's a good reason for that. This has been a completely one-sided affair. Denis Lazovic has garnered a 4-point lead somehow already over Bluebaum. This match is completely over. They don't have time to play 4 games. Lazovic can simply milk the clock down. Bluebaum is in complete tilt. He's also losing this game. My goodness gracious. Denis Lazovic is killing it here against Matthias Bluebaum. Oh, knight b4, a2. Give me that bishop of yours. Jar Jar Binks, as Canty would say. And this is a matter of technique. 5-point lead for Denis Lazovic. Look at that bullet rating of his. I think Rebecca Harris might need to try to take a piece of that bullet rating. But Denis Lazovic proving himself to be not just great in the Title Tuesday format, not just a 3+1 expert, but no, he is fast, he is sharp, he is good at non-increment time controls as well. The Belarusian Grandmaster is going to be a tough force to be reckoned with if he can make it past the other mini matches and earn one of the top 2 qualification spots out of this qualifier. Okay, off we go to what other match? Off we go to Tahir's match against Ohanyan, where Amin is trying to recover from that heartbreaker in the last game and equalize the score. And there's 5 minutes exactly remaining on the 15-minute match clock. Let's see if Ohanyan can get the better of his opponent in this time scramble. And it still appears that Tahir is just winning the time scrambles. He's got 5 extra seconds. He's got the more active rook. He's got the more active king. The king jumping and shifting and sliding and slithering, and so is the rook, and knifing its way back to e2, and 10 seconds for Tahir, and pre-moving is Amin Ohanyan, and trying to keep the king at bay, and giving the checks, and getting back to g4, and trying to go for checkmate, and white is escaping to the queen side, and pushing the pawn, and checking the king, and moving away, and 5 seconds for Ohanyan as he pushes the pawn, and gives it away, and trades the rooks, and it's a draw. It's a draw, and a fair result, as, oh my gosh, what a crazy time scramble. And things getting even more urgent now for Amin, who cannot afford to lose another game. If he loses one more game and goes down by 2, there will not be enough time to get 2 games started. Okay. All right, so Tahir, with black pieces here, he basically wins this mini-match with a victory in this game. But all of the matches, apart from the Lazovic Bluebaum match, are actually close. Let's go back to Josm's match against Suleimanli. Suleimanli in the same predicament that Amin is in. He really cannot afford to lose this game because, let's see, what is the current match clock? The current match clock is at 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Probably not enough time to get in 3 more games. Oh, queen h6. It's not checkmate, though. Suleimanli gets lucky there that wasn't made. He's going to lose, though, and it's going to be the same exact arc of the game as the last one. Jose's just going to flag him. This is a draw objectively, but white can make an endless amount of moves as long as he avoids repetition with pawn moves at the right time. So he needs to make a couple moves and then play h5. Black is going to try to preemptively give away his pawn. This is not even close. White has an infinite number of waiting moves. As long as he avoids 3-time repetition, this match, well, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The key thing to understand is that if a game is started with any amount of time left on the match clock, then that game will count for the overall match score. So I guess there is enough time to get 2 games in, but imagine just winning 2 games on demand like this. That's what's so impossible about that. Okay, off we go to Amin's match. Amin is going, which way? Amin wins. He wins and equalizes the score. Amin Ohanian wins on demand. 2.5 minutes remaining. This match is coming down to the wire. Matthias Bluebaum has it in the bag. And let's go back to Andrekin's match against Renato Terry, which is also tied. And also coming down to the last 2 games. Okay. What is happening here? Renato Terry, the Peruvian mastermind, the bullet genius, one of the toughest opponents for anybody to face. Really underrated, I think, at 31-20. Terry should be considered among the top bullet players in the world, the most consistent, the fastest. He is just so hard to bring down. And watch him just milk Andrekin's clock all the way down to 0. He is keeping the status quo. He is keeping an 8-10 second time advantage. And as long as he avoids problems with his king, he should be able to take this game. I mean, this is just a middle game in which Andrekin has no time. That pawn on e5 could have been captured. It doesn't really matter, though. As long as Terry can keep the status quo here, that's it. He should be able to win. I would even consider taking the knight with a rook. Andrekin trying desperately to generate a perpetual check. And Terry almost walked into repetition there. It took him a while to figure out how to avoid it. And there's the Botez Gambit by Andrekin, who just doesn't have that little oomph of speed. And Renato mating him on d8. And with 53 seconds left, it's down to the wire. Aiden Suleimanli in a must-win situation against Jose Martinez. There are 50 seconds left on the match clock. This is the final game of the first segment of mini matches. That means Andrekin is in a must-win situation. This guy is in a must-win situation. And Amin Ohanian is once again in a must-win situation. Let's go to Amin's game because it's the most advanced of all the games. And Amin Ohanian, he must win this in order to force an Armageddon game and the continuation of the match. That's it. The time is up. 15 seconds remaining on the chronograph. That means this is officially going to be the final game of the first mini match. And here we go. In the event of a tie, I'm going to verify what happens. Time is officially up. And I am going to verify what happens in the event of a tie. Okay, here we go. Ohanian is a good position. Great position. He's up a pawn. He brings his queen back. He's up 5 seconds on the clock. Players keep playing simply. Very nice. Easy to understand. You just keep playing games until the decisive result is reached. Easy. And this is exactly what's going to happen if Ohanian can drive this point home. He's got a pawn on c7. He's attacking the queen. He's knifing his way into c5. Tahir trying to generate counterplay, and he's going rook takes c7. He's taking the pawn. But Ohanian, he's got a big time advantage here. But he's lost his knight. Knight e8. What a move by Tahir, but he should still be able to flag him. Ohanian should still be able to flag Yosef Tahir, who has to pre-move all of his moves. And how is he doing this? He's eliminated the pawn. He's got 4 seconds on his clock. He needs to keep pre-moving. He's trying to avoid blundering his queen. Oh, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, take on f3. He's trying to eliminate all of White's pawns. He's not going to be in time. He is not going to be in time. Ohanian is going to keep his pawn alive. By a tempo. And they are going to go into a sudden death. What a friggin' game that was. And Dmitry Andrekin has lost. Renato Terry has defeated Andrekin in the first mini match. Andrekin is not eliminated. Not eliminated. This should be aborted. This should be aborted. This should be aborted. I don't know why they're playing. The match clock is done. Andrekin has lost the first mini match, but he is not out of the competition because it's a double elimination. You need to lose 2 matches in order to be out of the qualifying competition. All that remains is to watch the sudden death between Tahir and Emin Ohanyan, who has now won twice on demand and might just take this match home. He's got a great position. Great position. He's got the bishop pair. He's got the knight stuck on g4. He's driving the pawn down to a3 and forcing the rook to leave the c2 pawn abandoned. And he grabs it, but there's a check on a8. And it's a crazy position here. Is there a tactic with bishop takes d4 maybe? Bishop takes d4. Because that hits the queen and he sees it. And the rook on a2 is hanging. But Tahir does have a check on a8. Watch this game end in a draw. That would be the craziest twist of all. Rook takes d2. Desperado capture. And now black is winning in the endgame. Now black is winning in the endgame. But the knights are always very, very tricky. With 24 seconds, Emin trying to make sure that he doesn't blunder a checkmate. And he did blunder a pawn. And there goes another one. And suddenly white is better. That was ridiculous. 20 seconds for Emin, who has to hunt for some sort of perpetual check pattern. Now it's Tahir playing for a win. E6 is coming. It's inevitable checkmate. No, it's not. Knight g7. He's still kicking by the narrowest of threads. E7. There's king takes e7, so there's no forced win. And he's given up the pawn. And watch this game end in a draw. That would be hilarious. King to d2. Black starts to check white's king, but Tahir very deftly zigzags his way out of the checks. He repeats moves, blundering his knight. But can the b-pawn promote? And he does, but he's going to give up his rook. This is a crazy game. So many twists and turns. And Tahir continues to maneuver his king very astutely out of the checks. 5 seconds each now. White trying to promote his pawn, but he blundered knight d6. He's blundered knight d6. Ohanyan's going to win. Ohanyan's going to win. The pawn was not fast enough. And white wasn't fast enough. This is an easy elementary win. He can just shuffle his king around. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Emin Ohanyan takes this match with a heroic defensive effort. Unbelievable set of twists and turns. White had a draw if he wanted it. He didn't want it. He wanted to win the game. And ultimately, he gave up the knight. He banked on his pawn. But king g8 was a genius defensive move. Without it, white promotes basically with checkmate. Now, if white would have promoted, this is actually a very good position for black. So Tahir moved his rook. Ohanyan started to check him, and he checked him such that the rook was then able to drop back, stop the pawn, and finally, in the crazy time scramble, knight d6 check was missed. And of course, black could have played knight takes c8, knight e7 check, but the more practical move was rook takes rook, and black takes this match. Okay. Let me confirm when the next set of matches are starting. What a crazy, crazy end to this game. And the Armenian IM, who had a very disappointing run in the Junior Speed Chess Championship, does have a chance at redemption if he can keep the positive energy going. There is a 2 to 3 minute break. I will go on a very short break myself in that case. We will be back in about 1 minute when the next set of games begin. Don't go anywhere. You will not want to miss the next set of matches. All right, guys, we're back. I'm going to adjust the game board so that you can actually see the eval bar, which I think is going to make these games even more entertaining than they already are. Let me adjust the crop here a little bit. All right, I think we're good. And the next set of matches is about to begin. I'm also going to crop it in the other scene here. Just a moment. That eval bar showing. All right, looks like we're good. All right. So the next set of games should be starting momentarily. Okay, so what's important to realize... Oh, interesting. So one important clarification is that the top 4 seeds are the players who have 2 lives, but the bottom 4 seeds slide into the losers bracket. So if you're part of the bottom 4 seeds, if your finisher is 5 to 8 in the arena, then you only have 1 life. So you actually only have 2 lives if you're one of the top 4 finishers of the arena. So that's the incentive to getting a higher spot. So some players are already eliminated. So Matthias Bluebaum, I'm going to confirm this right now, I think has been eliminated. But we'll see. We'll see how it is, how it goes. Min Lee is in this event, yes. And Dimitri, okay. So Dimitri Draken and Matthias Bluebaum, both of them finished in the in spots 5 through 8 of the arena, so they are eliminated. Draken is eliminated, and Matthias Bluebaum is also eliminated. The games of the other 3 matches will begin momentarily. Yeah, all you have to know is that we're playing mini matches. These mini matches run over the span of 15 minutes, and the player with more points at the end of those 15 minutes wins the match, and I will keep you updated on who is still in this tournament and who has been eliminated. We have the following matches. Taher against Terry. Both of them have won their first round match. Emino Hanyan against Jose Eduardo Martinez Alcantara, also known as Jaspam. And we have Suleimanli against Denis Lazovic. Suleimanli lost his first match to Jaspam, but because he finished number 3 in the arena, he gets a second life. He is yeah, that's right, Tommy. He's intimidated by Yosef Taher. But if he speaks more, he'll be in trouble. Okay, H5. Taher is incredibly talented. He will be GM, no question about it. And he's got a nice position. Ooh. He's got a nice position here, I thought, against Terry, who circles his queen around to c2, forces the queens off the board. Still a good endgame for white, and this took Terry a lot of time to figure out. I would have probably gone g4 there if I were white. Now Terry has set up a little blockade on the light squares, and he's getting his knight into this game. Knight b5, knight c3, and white can push a4. Yes, he does. Looks like a very locked up position, but anything can happen here. Black is down a lot of time on the match clock, on the clock that is, but I don't see a single way for white to make inroads into black's position. Maybe knight c2, knight takes b4 can be tried, but black has enough time here to figure out how to respond to an unexpected move. White still trying. Taher playing for the win here, and can he win this pawn endgame? No, this is a draw. This is a draw because white has no waiting moves, and neither side can force Zugzwang. So we're going to repeat and beat around the bush here, ring around the rosy. And the first game, a rare result for a bullet game, ends in a draw. We've got Emino Hanyan. Oh! And black wins. Oh my gosh, Jose wins with a knight and bishop against the king. And it's not because he would have checkmated white, it's because white would have flagged. Because it's almost impossible to pre-move when you have a bare king against these three pieces. Jose, following some sort of obscure opening theory, Jose up a point here, winning the first game in style. And he's got a nice position in game 2 as well, a bishop pair. And he's chipping away at black's center. Black has to be very careful not to lose his queen here. Bishop g5 was unpleasant, but Emin kind of trading off one pair of bishops. White still a smidge better. He's got the bishop in an open board. And I think he can grab a7. I don't see a reason that that pawn cannot be captured, and neither does Jose. Emin pretending like he sacrificed it. Now Jose's turn to sacrifice a pawn. This was an actual sacrifice. Rook h8! Does that work? Does rook h8 work? That's a beautiful tactic, but it might not have cut it. There was knight takes h8. That had to be calculated. Still, rook h8 looks very tempting because king takes h8. There was queen to h6 with a mate in 2. Beautiful pattern, but Jose going for the more conventional attacking option. That was a beautiful, beautiful idea, but it might not be necessary, although he's kind of floundering here, is Jose Martinez, and the eval bar creeps back up. One move threats here are the order of the day, but the queens come off, and now Ohanyan is a great position. Bishop h6 there might have been a good shot, but the knight is dominating the bishop, and Jose has lost the thread of this game completely. Can he win on the clock, though, as he starts to pre-move? And Ohanyan, just a very hard player to beat on the clock in any situation, although he's been showing some signs of uncharacteristic nerves. And Jose, speaking of nerves, he gives up the rook, and he gives up the other one, and he's going to resign. And Ohanyan equalizes the score again. What resilience from the Armenian IM, who was down a point multiple times in the last match and wins on demand several times in a row. And all he has to do is avoid stalemate, and avoid stalemate he will. Okay. What is going on in the Lazovic-Suleimanli match? Suleimanli with his back against the wall, and he's doing what Denis Lazovic did to Bluebaum. He is doing to Denis what Denis did to Bluebaum. He's leading 2.5-half. Lazovic needs to put a lid on this, or else this match is going to get out of control, and he's going to find himself on the cusp of getting... Well, if Lazovic loses a match, he loses his right to qualify because Lazovic came in 7th in the arena. That's the bottom 4, which means he only has 1 loss. So if Lazovic loses this match, it's over. If Suleimanli loses this match, then he's lost 2, and it's over for him. So one way or the other, one player is going to get eliminated after this match. And looks like another difficult position here for Denis, whose king is wide open. Rook d2 check, rook f4 by Suleimanli, forcing a pair of rooks off the board. Black is also up 1 pawn, now 2 pawns. He decides to keep the rooks on the board, does Suleimanli. He's got to be very careful, though, because Lazovic is starting to generate threats against his own king. Oh, is there a mate? Rook d6, what a move. What a move, and that's going to win the game. And Suleimanli strikes again. Rook d2, rook takes h2. Brilliant play for the Azeri Grandmaster. If he played like that in the last round against Jose, he would have won. Can he find the mate, though? Still struggling a little bit. Queen d1 is excellent. The rook d4 is checkmate. It's unstoppable. Aiden Suleimanli is unstoppable. And 3 points up is Suleimanli. And on the match clock, we have... How long do we have on the match clock? We have... Drum roll, please. I'm going to turn on the game timer. We have 8 minutes and 46 seconds on the second match clock, which means that Lazovic has to start winning now. There is enough time to play 3 games, but if he makes even a single draw, if he loses a single other game, then basically his chances to stay alive are over. Let's check back in to Terry's match against, sorry, not this one, but rather Terry's match against Yosef Taher. And it's also a crushing performance by Renato Terry. And Yosef Taher, who lost to Ohanyan in the previous match, just hasn't mentally recovered. He is tilting here. He's losing this game as well. Terry with an amazing position in his vintage French. Taking a little bit more time than his opponent, but getting great positions in return. Well, Yosef Taher, his back is against the wall here. He cannot afford to lose this game. And yet that is exactly what he is doing. He is reeling, he is tilting. This is not the Yosef Taher that we are used to. I feel like the last match really impacted him mentally. And that is one of the hard parts about making your way through these types of qualifiers, is that one match doesn't go your way, one game doesn't go your way, have to recover quickly. He's still trying to fight here. His best chance is on the clock. I would not trade queens here if I were white, because I don't see a move for him. He tries to shuffle his knight around, and he does get his knight to relatively more active square as he shuffles it now to e3. But Terry, he's up 3 pawns. His bishop is a little bit stranded on a4. And white trying to generate mate threats. And it's not over. Suddenly, Taher is getting very active, and Terry's getting low on time. Knight comes back to g4 to defend the f2 pawn, and white boxing in the king with a check on h7 and a take on c7. The knight can drop back to e3 at the right moment, and it's now anybody's game. And white's threatening mate, and black's... No, white's not threatening mate. Oh, rook a8 isn't mate. Rook a8 is not mate, but it's not over yet. White now threatening checkmate on b8. Terry wasn't born yesterday. Taher blunders the rook. Oh, and he's not going to make this one either. Oh, it's a draw. It's a stalemate. And what a save by Yosef Taher, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. It is a Pyrrhic victory because with 6 minutes left on the KO timer, this just might not even be enough time to get out 3 games. Taher has to win now 3 in a row, starting with a victory with the black pieces, which is always very difficult against Terry. He's doing his best, mixing things up, but he's just got in a bad position once again, although going for checkmate. And Terry just calmly trading all the pieces, getting a great position here. Terry is going to win this match. Terry is going to win this match. Okay, what else do we have? We have Chesscom against Emin Ohanyan, against a struggling Emin Ohanyan who lost 2 in a row after equalizing the match 1-1. Ohanyan was in 4th place in this arena, which means that he has another life even if he loses. Or no, I guess he does not. I will confirm that. But in any case, he is on the cusp of losing. He's down a piece here. Jose is going to take this game. And with taking this game means he's taking the match, because with 5 minutes remaining, there is no chance for Emin Ohanyan, who won his first match. Both of them have 2 lives left. So both of them have 2 lives left, which means they're still in this match, even if they lose. One of them is going to lose, but they remain in the competition. They remain in the competition. Okay. All right. So this is basically over. Jose with the 3-point lead, and the match clock is almost over. So our closest match... Whoa! Denis Lazovic! Oh my gosh! He's almost tied it! He's now only a point down. Can Suleimanli put the lid on this comeback attempt? And I think he is. So this should be an easy win for white. This is an easy win. He's just going after all of Lazovic's pawns. Denis doing his best here. Somehow getting his bishop to freedom. But it should be a flag here for white. Should be. Although Suleimanli, I really don't like the way he's... Well, king f5 is just winning. Now he's winning all of black's pawns. Wow. And Suleimanli wins. A good resignation there for Lazovic, who resigns because he figures that there is enough time to get 2 games in. And he's right. There's 3.5 minutes left on the match clock. That's enough time to get 2 games in, but he's going to have to win both of them. Denis Lazovic needs another comeback. Starting with this game, and this King's Indian looks like a nice position for Suleimanli, though. Easy to play. Active pieces. Pushed back with the bishop. Now Lazovic pushing the queen all the way back to b8. Now I'm starting to like what Lazovic is doing. He gets his type of position. Very quiet, fianchetto symmetrical. He likes these grinded out positions. Very positional player is Denis Lazovic, who's going after black's pawns. And Emin Ohanyan, well, he is not going to make this comeback, it appears. He is going to make another draw against Jose. He's still down 3 points. So that match is essentially in the bag for Jose Martinez. And Denis Lazovic has great chances to win this game, although he's given up one of his extra pawns, clinging to the other, and holding on to a big time advantage. We might have another opposite colored bishop endgame. No, we won't. Lazovic will keep his knight. Black can take the knight. That's not out of the question, taking the knight, because he will have the pawns blockaded as a result. He lets the knight live. Instead, Suleimanli opting for kingside counterplay. And this is major kingside counterplay. E takes f4. He's got a passer. He can push it. He can push it. He doesn't push it. He lets white activate his knight. He drops the bishop back. Knight comes back to c6. Lazovic should win this game. He's still up 7 seconds on the clock. Suleimanli just a touch too slow, but he's won the pawn back. He's won the pawn back. And he can take e4. He can take e4, and he does. And Lazovic can't win this game. He might even lose this game. Lazovic might even lose. Well, not anymore. But he's the one who has to be very careful. Very careful. And it's going to be a draw. 1.5 minutes left on the match clock. That might not even be enough time to get 2 games in. All Suleimanli has to do is stall out 90 seconds. That should be pretty easy, given that a bullet game takes an average of 2.5 minutes. Suleimanli doesn't have to play fast. He can take his time. Lazovic is not going to be able to play with the requisite speed to win this game in under 90 seconds. This one's over. Okay, so what else do we have? We have Renato Terry. Let's see how he's doing. Okay, he has officially won his match against Joseph Taher, who had a good run, good chances against Ohanyan in the previous round, but Taher is going to be eliminated. Emin Ohanyan, well, he is down 4 points now, so this one's over as well. So the only semi-competitive match is this Denis Lazovic game, but with 43 seconds now on the match clock, as long as Suleimanli is aware that all he has to do is stall this out, he can just sit and wait for the match clock to expire. And even with a win, Lazovic will only have made up 1 point. Yeah, this one's over. Suleimanli, though, he is losing on the board. He is losing on the board, but 18 seconds now separate him and another very important match victory. Lazovic is out of the tournament. Now it's official. Time is up. Black plays a great game, but it's not enough to separate, to erase the separation. All right. Okay, so Jose, with his victory over Emin Ohanyan, given Jose's placement in the overall arena, he has officially qualified to the Bullet Chess Championship. Jose Martinez, a big congratulations. Jospim has qualified for the Bullet Chess Championship. Great performance in the arena, very consistent. He is an unpleasant opponent for everybody. He's good, he's experienced, he's fast. He's played in the Bullet Chess Championship before, and a very well-deserving qualification for Jose, which leaves us with one other qualification space. Who will that space be occupied by? So, obviously, we have Emin Ohanyan, we have Aiden Suleimanli, and we have Renato Terry. Okay, so let's figure out the pairings here. Renato Terry is still in this tournament. Okay, so what happens is this. Terry and Suleimanli play in the next round. So it'll be Terry against Suleimanli. Then the winner of Terry versus Suleimanli plays Ohanyan, and the winner of that match qualifies as the second qualifier to the BCC. So I am going to go on a break until the next match begins. We will be watching Renato Terry face Aiden Suleimanli in the next 15-minute matchup. And finally, after that, we will have the loser's final, which will determine the second qualifier. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, so we are about to begin the semifinal match between Renato Terry and Aiden Suleimanli. Jose Martinez, Jospim, already qualified for the Bullet Championship. He is officially in. There is one more spot left to be meted out to one out of three players. First, it'll be Terry against Suleimanli, who will contest their match. And then the winner of this match will play Emin Ohanyan for the determining spot. The winner of this match versus Emin Ohanyan will be the second qualifier from this first Bullet Championship qualifier. This is game one. It's Renato Terry with the white pieces and a difficult position here as he forces the queens off the board, but it comes at a great cost of his pawn structure. He does have the bishop pair. He does have a certain degree of piece activity, but Suleimanli has been a very pleasant surprise when it comes to his speed and his accuracy. He has 43 seconds on the clock, 15 more seconds than Terry. He should be able to take this first game. And Terry kind of groveling here, just curling up into a tight little ball. And trying to prevent the rooks from... Well, now he reopens the file. The rooks are, in fact, all traded. This should make White's defensive job a little bit easier. It's easier to pre-move when you've got no heavy pieces. On the other hand, the knight is swinging around and threatening to come to f4. And Terry blunders the bishop. The bishop is trapped. He loses the bishop. He's going to lose this game. He's got no time. He can resign. He does resign. Suleimanli... Oh, whoa. Sorry, I'm still following Hikaru. Still following Hikaru. So let me do... as much as we would like to watch him, I gotta commentate the Bullet Championship qualifier. Let's watch game two of Suleimanli against Terry. He's got the white piece higher and the... All right, just a moment. All right. Let's see, rook e3. Suleimanli is going after it here. My goodness gracious. Suleimanli going after it, and he's going to win this game. Rook g3, and that bishop takes e4, and Terry allowing a basic sacrifice on h6, just tilting away another game. Completely tilting away another game. This one's over as well. He's going to go rook f6 and rook f8, and that's it. Rook e6 is possible. Terry resigns the second game. And at this rate, Terry is not going to pull out a single game. Suleimanli 2 points ahead with a couple of minutes gone by. Terry with only about 11 minutes or so to score a couple of comeback victories. And it has to start with the white pieces. That is where he is strongest. But Suleimanli with a very, very solid opening choice. A Queen's Indian, a pawn sacrifice on d5, which is very standard. Very standard stuff here for Terry. He's got the bishop pair. He doesn't blunder his rook. Instead, he uses his rook to fianchetto his bishop. But look at Suleimanli driving the pawn down to d4. And now h5, another strike, forcing the queen back. That pawn was untouchable. Knight f4 tactics, uppercuts going from all directions here as Suleimanli tries to set up some sort of mating net. But instead, he got a mate threat of his own that he had to defend against. And Terry stabilizing queen e4 until another blunder. And queen e2, there's knight takes e2 check. Oh, he goes back to g6. He repeats moves once. He could even play queen takes b1. He should be winning here. Suleimanli is going to get a third game. And more precious time is coming off the match clock. He's up 12 seconds. He has a winning endgame. Terry is getting smashed here in completely uncharacteristic fashion. But he still has time for a comeback. There is still enough time if he resigns this game quickly. I think he might. Well, he's actually trying. He's still trying to recover here. He is ridiculously fast. You can see all the pre-moving he's doing. Unfortunately, though, his position is not very good. Doesn't have too many practical chances here. G4 launching a mating attack against White's king. It is time to resign, Terry. You are not getting this game. Precious seconds are coming off the match clock. And he just frittered away another minute. Suleimanli has 16 seconds. Terry can't believe this. Normally he would resign. Now he finally does resign. He's 3 points down. And at this point, he is in complete must-win territory. And a great pre-move there for Suleimanli. Queen e2. This d5 variation that Terry is playing not as good because the pawn could not recapture on d5. It's an old school line, pretty underrated, and it's a great, great bullet weapon. But Terry, nice reaction. He wins the knight. Suleimanli with a very, very sloppy move. That is exactly what Terry needed. He needs a quick win, then another one, and then another one. Suleimanli's going to lose the knight. His goal now is not only to recover and continue to fight, but also to take as much time off the match clock as humanly possible. Make it as difficult as possible for Renato Terry to take this match and come back from the massive deficit that he finds himself in. And Suleimanli doing his best to blast open the position. And blast open he does, but what is his follow-up? With 9.5 minutes remaining on the match chronograph, Terry, still not really a concern, is the match clock. He's got enough time even to play 4 or 5 games potentially, but he's got to start winning eventually. He's up a piece. He's consolidating his advantage. Terry is going to win this game. Terry is going to win this game. But can Suleimanli milk another minute off the match clock? King h6. What a crazy move by Terry. Still not totally over. Are there any... Rook f5? Rook f5 has to be tried, but Suleimanli has lost hope here. He finally plays it, but he's too slow. Too slow is Aiden Suleimanli in this particular instance. It is Renato Terry with the 15-second time advantage, and Rook f1 picks off the white queen. Black picks off the white rook. Suleimanli graciously resigns. I would have tried to milk another 30 seconds there off the clock, but he believes in himself, does Aiden Suleimanli. And he's still up 2 points, but a very disappointing game there as he blundered a knight early on in that game. Here we go. Okay, a Slav by Terry. He didn't have knight takes b5 because the queen had the e8 square. There's a famous trick there where the white bishop comes into c7, but Suleimanli had that planned. He had an escape square for his queen. Nice position again here for black. Overall, Suleimanli has been dominating really from the opening onwards. He's been dominating on the clock, but if Terry wins one more game, suddenly it's a 1-point game. And a positional pawn sacrifice for the Azerbaijani phenom. Terry says, thank you very much. I'm grabbing it. I don't care about your bishop pair because he has just exchanged black's strongest piece off the board. The knight on e4 is gone, and Suleimanli continues to pressure the center. Terry stabilizes the situation. Time situation's equal. I like black's position practically. He wins the pawn back. Terry trying to win it back again. Can you play d takes e3? No. He plays queen h3 instead. He goes after the king side. But what about e takes d4 and queen e4 hitting the bishop, stopping h4? And here comes white's pawn. Down the board it goes. And Terry with another nice position here. I think he might win this game as well. My lions, girl. This is going to get real spicy if he can win this game. Terry up a pawn. He's up a little bit of time. His king is relatively safe. Black has nothing more than an empty check, which is blocked by white's bishop. And Terry gets back to e4. He can lift his king up to g2 for maximum safety. He forces the queens off the board. He's going to win the second game. And this match is not over yet. Terry, with one more win, recovers the 3-point deficit. But can he win this next game? First of all, can he finish this game? Yes, he can. He takes another pawn. This one's over. This one is an easy, easy win. White's got 2 pawns ahead. This is completely and utterly winning for white. So Suleimanli taking a little bit of time off the match clock, but it's not going to be enough to milk the rest of the time off the chronograph. Wow. Terry, the comeback kid, wins again. 6:24 remaining on the match clock. 6:24 remaining on the match clock. Wow. Let's watch. Can Terry complete the comeback? Unbelievable. And Aiden Suleimanli, I like what he's doing here. He chooses a solid opening with a white piece as a BOGO Indian. Very important. Terry has 6 minutes left on the match clock. He doesn't have to win this game. He can make a draw. He can even afford to lose and still have a chance. So important for Terry not to burn all of his bridges. That's a very common mistake when people get too eager to try to make the comeback in one fell swoop. But speaking of comeback, he just grabbed that e2 pawn. Give me that. Give me that, baby. He grabs the e2 pawn. Suleimanli has compensation. He's got control over the d5, but look at Terry go. Attacking white's king. Blast it open, girl, with e4, and he does. And now it's getting really spicy. F takes e4. There's a check on e2. Black has perpetual check if he wants it. No, he does not. Can Suleimanli post threats against Black's king? He's got 25 seconds. And Suleimanli is just collapsing. He's frozen. He doesn't know what to do. He's frozen. And he's not going to... There's no chance here. He's down 15 seconds. And Terry has to return with his queen to f6. Offer that queen trade. Oh, but if you play queen f6, then perhaps white could have taken the queen and gone rook takes h7. Wow. Queen f3 check back. White has no threats. Terry's completely winning. There goes the rook. He can take it. There's no mate. The queen's not attacking g7. The comeback is complete. We've got a match on our hands. We've got a match on our hands. Unfrickin' believable. Terry wins 3 in a row after starting off so uncharacteristically with 3 losses. What a crazy match. And the winner of this match will face Emin Ohanyan for the second qualification spot. That's what they're playing for. The loser of this match is eliminated. That's it. We're down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. We're down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. We are down to the wire. How much time on the match clock? 4 minutes. Still a good, solid 4 minutes remaining on the match clock. That means there is time for maybe 2, maybe even 3 more games if one of them is fast. But this game is going to determine everything. Can Suleimanli recover his tilt? He is not. He's tilted. He's playing terribly. Rook fd1. He's down a pawn. He's playing passively. He's giving Terry the kind of positions that he wants. Renato is going to win most likely a 4th consecutive game here. And now it'll be Suleimanli with his back against the wall, but he's still trying. Nice move there. Knight a4 was awesome for Aiden. Rook takes c4 was a good resource. He missed it. He's up 10 seconds, though. Terry's got to move. Terry's got to move, and he gives up his extra pawn. Bishop takes a3. Doesn't take it, though. A couple of strange decisions here for both players, but Terry, at the end of the day, is still down 8 seconds on the clock, and that might be the deciding factor as Black deploys his bishop and mobilizes it to c5. And now we have a queen trade. This makes the position a little bit easier for White to play, but he blunders the pawn on b5 and returns to b1. Can he recover the pawn? Knight e5. Oh, he's going to win knight d7. Oh my gosh, and Terry wins the exchange, and he wins the game. He's going to win this game. This is an easy, easy win for White. Black's pre-moves are so much harder than White's because White has the rook. So White has the ability to pose as many threats as he possibly wants to. As long as he doesn't blunder his rook, White should be able to finish this game off. He should keep the pawns on the board as long as possible, milk time off Black's clock, go rook d7, go g6 at the right moment, and win this game. Renato Terry, 4 in a row. Unfrickin' believable. That's it. Rook b7. There's it. There it is. There it is. There it is. And Suleimanli loses 4 in a row. Nothing remains of what was once a 3-point lead. It sinks into the ground. It's now Renato Terry who's on the cusp of qualifying to face Ohanyan to get that second Bullet Chess Championship spot. Suleimanli is on tilt. You can just tell by the openings that he's playing. He's got a knight on c3. What is the knight doing on c3? There's supposed to be a pawn on c4. Oh, this is ugly. c5. He is handing this match over right now to Renato Terry. He needs to get it together because if he wins this game, then he equalizes the match. And I like what he's doing those last couple of moves. He's gotten Black's bishop. f5, trying to advance in the king side, creating some chances against White's king, but it just doesn't look good. Black's king is so safe here. And Suleimanli trying everything, pushing the queen away and deploying his own queen to f3. And suddenly, he's got the better placed pieces. Are there any tactics here? He drops the bishop back to d3. He's up on time. Knight takes f6 check. He can go into the endgame. That endgame looked winning. Oh, rookie, queen f5 is an amazing move. Queen f5 is an amazing move. He's threatening knight takes f6 and queen h7. He's winning. Suleimanli's completely winning here. Knight takes f6 is mate. Queen h7, queen h8, rook e1, bishop f5. He goes rook e1 straight away. He's going to win. He's going to equalize the score. And now it's Suleimanli's turn to make an incredible comeback. But why did he let the king go? Yeah, he's still winning. He's still winning. Rook c1. Incredible. And wow. With 42 seconds left, 42 seconds left. This final game is going to determine who faces Ohanyan. On-demand victory for Aiden Suleimanli. It doesn't even matter how long this game lasts. Even if the match clock runs out, they will still play one more game because the match is going to be tied. Here we go. Unbelievable. Okay. Not sure why Terry is playing. There's not much to play for here. It's 4-4. That means they're playing one more game. And the winner of this game moves on to face Ohanian in the final qualification match. Renato has the white pieces. Aiden with a monster on-demand victory. Crazy to even say that because he was up 3 points earlier in the match. He tilted away the fourth game, but got it together for the fifth. But he is in trouble here in this decisive game. And Terry with an opening trap. He's going to win the bishop. Oh, he's going to win the bishop h5. The bishop is trapped. Bishop d5, e4. This is basic Betty. And Aiden blunders the bishop. Now he has to hope for a miracle. He's trying to get his queen into g3. Terry is not going to give this opportunity up. This is a completely lost position for Black. He dropped his bishop. He didn't find a way to defend it. All Terry has to do is consolidate his advantage, make sure that he doesn't weaken his king. And that is much easier said than done because Suleimanli says, hey, I am here to fight. And he goes rook to d8. He's going to take on d4. He wins the second pawn back. He's got pressure down the d file. Is Terry panicking? Oh, he is. Queen f4. Suleimanli throwing uppercuts from all sides of the board. He's threatening a pin on d2. He's taking another pawn on a4. Suddenly it's a game again. He's got 3 pawns for the bishop, and now Black's the one with the initiative. Terry defending everything carefully. Rook to d2 and queen to d3, threatening mate on d8 and forcing Black's queen back. Another mate threat on h8. And now it's White's turn to go back on the offensive. Move repetition there for Terry. f5, striking at the bishop, forcing it back, opening the g file, a check on c5. Black did have the move b6 there, and we might have a repetition of moves. Is Terry going to take a draw? It's a draw, and they're going to keep going. They're going to keep going. Unbelievable. A draw, the least likely result, particularly considering the game arc. Ridiculous. Okay, here they go again. Let's continue. Come on, guys. Rematch. Let's go. There we go. Okay. Here goes Aiden Suleimanli, who's got the white pieces, another BOGO Indian, which they had. They had this during the regular portion of their mini-match. An endgame could have been initiated there by White by taking on e5, but Renato is a great endgame player, especially in the bullet time control. He has a great sense of where the pieces belong. So Suleimanli, I think, doing the right thing, keeping the queens on the board. What a save in the previous game. He dropped a piece in the opening. He didn't panic, kept going as though nothing had happened, and created just enough problems for Renato Terry to lose his mind. And now it's Renato Terry who loses the bishop. No, it's Suleimanli again. I apologize. He's got white. He loses the bishop again. He put it on h5, let it be locked up by d4. Now Terry's completely winning. This is a lot more winning than the previous game. That's it. Terry's taking everything. He's taking all of White's pawns. Oh, Aiden Suleimanli put that bishop on h5. Then it got entombed by Black's pawn and attacked by Black's knight. And he just wasn't paying attention to any of those things happening. Unbelievable. That's it. Barring a mouse slip, barring an internet disconnection, this is over. Terry's going to win. Rook takes d3. There's bishop f5 attacking and trapping the rook as well. Terry got to be nervous here. And a4, great attempt. That's what you got to do. You got to keep attacking, keep making one-move threats, and hoping for a miracle. Suleimanli is hoping for a miracle right now, but Terry is hoping for a queen trade. And he's not going to get a queen trade, but he is going to get a victory in this game. Queen e2 check, and h takes g4, opens up the g file. That is devastating. Black's rooks are ready to tear White's king limb from limb. And a win for Terry. He wins the match. And what a comeback for the Peruvian international master, soon-to-be grandmaster for sure. He was 3 points down. He lost the first 3 games of the match. He wins the next 4. Then it's up to Suleimanli to come back and win the 8th game. Then they make the craziest draw of all time. And then Terry, on the strength of this opening idea, he forced knight h5, suddenly plays g4. Suleimanli, no, he couldn't have played f3 because the queen would have captured on h4 with a fork. So there was really no good way to save the bishop. That means knight h5, as natural as it is, was potentially the losing move. The engine finds some way here, but this was very, very hard. Terry wins the bishop, and this time he does not let the match slip through his fingers. What a victory by Terry. He will move on to face Amin Ohanian in the final to determine the final qualification spot for the Bullet Chess Championship, which means I will take a bit of a break. When I come back, You will not want to go anywhere because you don't want to miss the final 15-minute match between Emino Hanyan and Renato Terry, the two phenom IMs who will make some company to all of the grandmasters in the Bullet Chess Championship, including Jospim, who takes the first qualification spot. I'll be right back with more BCC qualifier action. I don't have the comm right now. No, I just hung this too. Yeah. I don't have the comm at the moment. Yeah, I just don't have any comms to me. Yeah, I mean, I was completely winning there. All right, guys, we're back. We are back, and we are ready for the final between Emino Hanyan and Renato Terry. Renato Terry defeating Aiden Suleimanli in an incredible topsy-turvy 15-minute match that featured more twists than a Hollywood plot. And here we go. Without any further ado, that's the way I like it. Emino Hanyan with the white pieces, and we will follow from Renato Terry's perspective in this first game. Here we go. We will follow from the higher-rated player's perspective. Renato is definitely the favorite in this mini-match, no question about it. But Hanyan, you can see the bullet ratings. They are very high, 3,072 to 3,141. Renato playing his vintage French defense and opening up the center. A good position in the early going for the Peruvian IMC. He will be a Grandmaster soon enough as he pushes his pawns fearlessly toward the center. But is he overextending himself? Can White strike with a well-timed knight c7? First, Hanyan with an excellent move. Rookie 1. Black could not have played e4 because then he would have dropped the d4 pawn. But look at Terry go. He wants to go b7, b5, attacking the knight, attacking the bishop. Hanyan with a very panicky reaction. And e4. Here goes Black's pawns. Terry's going to take this first game. And it's not even close. He's up on time. He's up on the board. He's playing confidently. The knight sinking its teeth into the e4 square. Incredible. What a game by Terry. And he brings the bishop out with decisive effect. Knight takes e3. Ohanyan still finding ways to stay alive. But look at the clock. He's down 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Emin Ohanyan is down. Yeah. a5, a4. No way. A beautiful mating construction. White's king all alone in the wilderness. It's being surrounded, hunted down by Black's knight, which is moving in a Houdini-like fashion around the board. This is a moot point. 6 seconds on the board. No matter how fast you are, it's made in 2 moves. It's made in 3 moves. It's made in 3 moves. Check. And mate on d4. What a game. And Terry takes the first one in convincing fashion with the black pieces. Can he strike a second time now in this semi-Slav? Rook c1, a quieter semi-Slav. Bishop h4 would have led to the dreaded Botvinnik variation. This line, a lot more quiet and a good position for Terry. He is often able to steer the game in the direction of positions that he likes. And this is exactly the kind of position where he is unstoppable. Grindy, quiet, symmetrical structure. Look at that monster sitting on d5. Ohanyan has his work cut out for him. He should be able to hold the draw here, but I would take white any day of the week, including Thursday, precisely because the bishop is more active. Very instructive that white's pawn structure looks bad, but it's unexploitable. Well, black doesn't have anything with which to attack white's pawns. The king is obviously not unsafe because the queens are off the board. And Terry has this very clear idea of pushing his queenside pawns and continuing to chisel away a black's position. Let's see how Ohanyan defends. He is defending excellently as he brings his king up to g5 and manufactures active counterplay with f5. Terry trades a pair of rooks. He's trying to play with little risk. He's up a point in the match. He doesn't want to give that lead away right away. He doesn't want to give that lead away right away. Okay, here we go. Rook e6, king f4. Ohanyan getting his king very, very active, but that could also backfire in a time scramble. And Terry avoiding the rook trade. He's playing for a win. He's up on time. He's up on time. Rook c6. Ooh, stepping into a discover check, but there was no good discover check. And now Terry entombing black's king on h6, and it shuffles back to h7 very alertly. Ooh, I don't like that move by Ohanyan. He's given the rook and the bishop. He's given the bishop a major outpost. Take g5. Oh, he could have taken g5 first. Now it should be a draw, but who's going to flag who? Terry going to go for the flag here. And Ohanyan, this is where he is at his strongest. The transmission is even catching up to how fast they're playing. That's how fast they're playing. It's a draw. It's a draw. Ohanyan's going to hold this. Oh my God. Look at this. They're literally playing so fast that my computer is not able to follow the moves. It's a draw. That's literally how fast they were pre-moving. That is insane. Okay, so not a bad result for Mr. Ohanyan. He draws the game with black, but now with the white pieces against Terry's French, he has to show better performances. And this is, oh no, he's allowed g4. He's allowed g4. This is already a disaster for Ohanyan, who gives up the most important pawn on the board. This is what Terry does. This is why he's so good in the French. He just understands these positions. He's up a pawn, but more importantly, look at that h-file. That h-file is wide open, and Terry can go for checkmate here. He will go for checkmate. He's given up his extra pawn. Great job by Emin to play g3 there. And now king g2. Excellent defensive technique. Trying to trade off as many heavy pieces as possible. Terry's still slightly better, but he's no longer getting mated, is Emin Ohanyan. And now white is on the offensive down the h-file. Pretty incredible stuff there. And okay, what's going on here? Rook h6, attacking the d6 pawn. Terry bringing his king up and forcing the queens off the board. Oh, he could have taken the rook. He could have taken the rook there because the pawn on g3 was pinned by black's rook. That is what nerves do to you. And can Terry take this endgame, or will Ohanyan hold his things together? Oh my God, the suspense is unreal. This should be a draw with best play for both sides. Black slightly down on the clock. Black slightly down on the clock. And back and forth goes Terry. Will he repeat moves? Yes, he will. This will be a draw. No, it will not be. Ohanyan goes for the win. What a daring move is rook g4 for Emin. And we got another repetition. Sort of a repetition. Who's playing for the win? I don't know. Terry could take on f4. Oh, what was d4? He blundered. CD. Oh my gosh. What was d4? He's going to lose the pawn race. The pawns will promote simultaneously, but black will lose his queen. Black will lose his queen. It'll get skewered. Ohanyan's going to win. Terry overpresses. He panicked there with d4 check. He forgot about the classic trick. It's not all about who promotes first. Sometimes you promote at the same time. But the side with the move after the queens promote, the pawns promote, that move is so valuable. Another on-demand victory for Amin Ohanyan. The score is 1.5, 1.5. That was a classic endgame. Put that in your textbook and smoke it. Here we go. Woo! Okay. So, looks like a nice position here in the early going for Renato, and Ohanyan getting kind of a stonewall structure. Terry doing the same. He locks up the queen side, attacks the queen side. Ohanyan defends. The rook's getting to the A file. A trade of rooks down the A file, very likely. Terry puts his other rook on A1, bishop A5, massaging the weak dark squares. Again, a good position for Terry, but Ohanyan doing a great job holding equal on the clock. And this, again, might just fizzle out into a draw. White is nominally better here. White's got more space. Black's bishop is terrible, but so is White's. Both bishops are kind of staring at the pawn mass that Black has on the light squares. Can Terry manufacture some play on the queen side? He might not even be thinking about playing for a win. No, he is. Can he get his king around? That's pretty dangerous. He uses his pawns instead. Ohanyan tries to lock it up. Oh, bishop d1, queen e2. Oh, king h3, queen g2. What an idea by Terry. Beautiful eyes. What understanding of chess geometry. Separating the king from the g file to let the queen step in. And now f takes g5. Exquisite technique, but Ohanyan isn't done yet. He's trying to mail f8. Oh, he blundered. Terry blundered. He's going to let the pawn promote. Bishop takes c6. Oh my God, Terry losing on nerves here. These are pure nerves. It was perfectly executed technique by Terry. He allowed the classic trick where the bishop was deflected. And Amin Ohanyan with unbelievable resistance, just ironclad resistance in these last two games. He's now ahead by a point. And Amin has been fighting from his back foot in all of these matches. Now he's up a point. Now it's up to Terry to complete another comeback. Well, he's used to it. He made a 3-point comeback in his last match against Suleimanli, but can he pull it off again? Can Ohanyan cement his lead? Pretty quiet game here. A lot of trades. Closed position. Ohanyan has that knight. He centralizes it. He trades it for Black's knight. Generally, I prefer the side with the knight in these closed center positions, but that is pretty irrelevant here. F4, Terry drives the pawn and Ohanyan prepares his bishop on the long diagonal. He puts it E4 by Terry. He's mad. He wants to open the position up. He wants to take it to his opponent, but Ohanyan defending very calmly. Bishop D4. I like that move, reserving the right to trade the bishop for the knight, which he does, but is that a little bit too reticent of a strategy? That bishop on E4 was aiming at the pawn on G7 and generating counterplay for White. Now Ohanyan is stuck with these weak pawns, the weak king. This is a losing position for White in a bullet game. This is a losing position for White in a bullet game, and Terry's going to start picking up the pawns. If he can force a pawn endgame, then he's winning. But is he traumatized about going into pawn endgames? No, he is not, because he thinks this one is winning, and it probably is. It probably is, but it's not close. It might be a draw. King f6, h5. Oh my God, did he mess this up again, did Renato Terry? Yeah, he has to go for a draw. Ohanyan just goes back and forth, and Black is out of waiting moves. So as long as White doesn't step onto f4, and even if he does, Terry is out of waiting moves. He cannot get his king into e5. This is a draw. Black is forced to repeat moves. Maybe even Ohanyan going to go for the win here. Terry's definitely tempting him into doing it. He is going for the win. Ohanyan's trying to flag him. Oh, he is going to flag him, isn't he? No, draw. Draw by repetition. Ohanyan could have tried to push b4, but he didn't want to press his luck. He's up a point. That makes sense. And another winning position squandered by Renato Terry. He's got to keep his composure, though, because he's got the white pieces. What was that? He went king d8 by accident. He didn't take the bishop. Oh, my Lord. What on earth? That actually did just happen. No way. No way that happened. Wow. And Terry still with a very nice position. Ohanyan clearly a mouse slip. Obviously, Terry expected knight c6, which is why he pre-moved his response. That is the novelty of the year there. by the Armenian IM, who is still suffering the fallout from not being able to castle. His king is stranded in the center. You would never think, looking at the king on e8, that it has already moved to d8 and then back to e8, but it has, and he has to make do with it. He has to try to get the queens off the board, and now it's Terry who declines the queen trade. You don't say that often, but he declines it here because he is going to pile up on the c6 pawn, and I would assume he's going to win this game. Everything is falling. Queen to g6 check, queen to h7, sectioning off black's king, and knight to h5, hitting g7. The king drops back, but queen h8 is a very accurate check, and now he starts to collect the harvest and prevents the king from escaping to the queen side. Terry playing this exquisitely, and he's going to equalize the match score. How long is left in this match? Let's see. How long is left in the how long is left on the match clock, rather? Let me check that for you right now. And Terry wins, of course. Terry wins, of course. Okay, on the game timer, we have 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Oh, God. We're down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. 2 more games are going to be played in the regular time portion of this match. If they are tied, then they will continue playing until a decisive game is reached. The match is tied. It is 3-3. Emin Ohanyan is the white pieces. He moves his pawn into the center. Here we go. Rook to d8 by Terry. Not sure I loved what Emin did there with his e-pawn. He moved it up to e5, but now he's created for himself a weak pawn on d4. Now he's got to decide which way is he going to recapture the knight. He takes it back with a pawn. This pawn now clamps down on some of these dark squares, making it hard for black to develop the rest of his pieces. Terry trying to circumvent this annoying bishop on f3. The problem is that black can't go bishop d7 because the b7 pawn would have been hanging. And Ohanyan using the pawn on e5 to its fullest potential and slamming a knight on d6. He is better. He is better on the clock. He's up 6 seconds. And Terry trying to reshuffle, find the right arrangement of pieces. And he did find the right arrangement of pieces. A tactic as he eliminates the defender. Oh, and Ohanyan forgot that he could take his bishop with check. And Terry has great winning chances now. He tries to trade queens. Don't like the queen trade. That gives white a lot of activity. That gives white a ton of activity. And now it is a draw theoretically. It's all about the clock now. Terry's time advantage and his extra pawn should be enough to win this game. Objectively, the position is drawn. I've seen the side that's up a pawn blunder their rook. It happens. We've already seen it this tournament. But Terry should be able to take this game. And this is where Ohanyan has to harness his incredible speed. He is up 5 seconds on the clock. I apologize. Ohanyan is the one who's up on time. So Terry might actually be the one playing for a draw here. It's not clear. I would consider going h4 if I were Terry. Just take a couple seconds off black's clock. Terry playing this so well. You can blunder checkmate here. Anything can happen. Rook g8. Oh, and it's going to be a draw. I think Ohanyan should just take on f4. And he does. And a very wise decision. Oh, and Terry's got to be careful. Just make a draw here. And they do. And this is going to be the last game. Oh my God, 40 seconds left on the match clock. This is going to be the last game. The winner of this game takes the second qualification spot in the Bullet Chess Championship after Jose. It's Renato who's got the white pieces, and he tries to steer the game into a favorable direction. He likes these setups with the bishop on b2 and the other bishop on d3, and he's got the Pillsbury knight on e5 supported by the twin bastions on d4 and f4, and here he goes. And the bishop comes into c6, offering a trade of light squared bishops, which Ohanyan accepts, and slices the queen through to b7, attacking the knight. Terry recaptures on c5, hitting the bishop, and the knight, after a roundabout trip, arrives at d4, but it's not done yet. It takes a quick breather and moves on to f5, and chisels its way at black's kingside. A lot of tactical possibilities here with the queen coming to g4 and Ohanyan sidestepping the problems. His king on h8 still under the crosshairs of white's bishop, but Terry burning valuable seconds trying to figure out tactics here, and he's given up the pawn on a3. He's got his eyes squarely on the king side. He has to shove that g pawn up the board, but Ohanyan is taking pieces off the board and making it more difficult for white to do something. Terry is with his back against the wall. This is worse for white. Can Emin Ohanyan could keep his composure? Knight c3, another excellent move, and an uppercut to the jaw as he takes on b3. Terry is running out of ideas. He's running out of time. He's down 2 pawns. He doesn't have a check on f7. He's still trying. Maybe take on f5. And he does. And he's still trying. He's still fighting. He's trying to open up the g file. Rook to g1. He's taking f5. It's not over yet. Black has to keep his knight protected. No, he drops back. He gives away a queen trade. He gives away his extra knight. This is going to come down to the time, to the wire. Ohanyan is up 6 seconds. He should be able to flag Terry here. But you never know what happens with this many nerfs. It's an equal endgame objectively, but Terry is down 6 seconds. He's outplaying Ohanyan, down 6 seconds. It doesn't matter, though. He's out of 5 seconds on the clock, and he's going for checkmate. He's going for checkmate. Rook takes g6, trading the rooks. Rook to b6. This is easy to play for white. Can he eliminate the final pawn? He's got 3 seconds. He's got 2 seconds. Can he promote his pawn? No. Ohanyan's going to win. Ohanyan's going to win. If he can avoid giving away his rook, he's going to win. And 1 second. Ohanyan is going to win. He flags him. He flags him with a single rook on the board. Terry was lacking 1 more second, and he probably would have gotten that rook captured. And mean Ohanyan wins this match improbably. Terry was the favorite. He was the leader. But Ohanyan, with nerves of steel, one incredible save after another. And those 2 saves, the first game he won, the second game he drew, those 2 pawn endgames are going to be with Terry tonight. He will have another chance to qualify tomorrow. But this is all about Amin, the young Armenian international master who has made a name for himself as a 15-second expert, a 30-second expert, but really showing that he's not just that. He's also a fantastic bullet player, and that he can compete with the best of them. And he will compete with the best of them in the Bullet Chess Championship because he has secured the second qualification spot, ladies and gentlemen. We congratulate Jose Martinez Jospin for the first spot, and in much more adventurous, but no less deserving fashion, Amin Ohanyan gets the second qualification spot. Folks, tomorrow we will have the continuation of the Bullet Chess Championship qualifiers. There will be 2 of them. They will be brought to you by Benjamin Bach. And we hope you tune in. It'll be at the same time tomorrow, Friday. But that is it for me today. That was exhausting. That was really fun. But I'm going to go recover my vocal cords. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in during this busy Thursday, taking some time out of your day. I hope you enjoyed the high-paced bullet entertainment. There is nothing like bullet chess. And the greatest thing is that this is just the beginning. This is just the first qualifier. There will be more qualifiers tomorrow. And of course, the main Bullet Chess Championship with Firouzja, Carlsen, Nakamura, myself, Tang, and others will be taking place relatively soon. On that note, folks, I'm going to go to the thanks for watching screen. We are going to send the raid over to another streamer. But thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the commentary. And thanks again for watching, taking time out of your day. Hope to see you tomorrow for the next Bullet Chess Championship qualifier. We congratulate Jospin and Ohanyan. And on that note, we bid you goodbye.